Creve Hall, a crash. Left 2 lanes blocked, 65 southbound near the Hogan Road overpass. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's a stinking drone. No, it's a flock of geese. I don't know. It's everybody's looking into the sky and everybody's seeing a bunch of stuff. And what is the truth and what is not the truth about this is really hard to determine. But that's where we're going to start today here on The Drive. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brian Wilson, in the chair all the way till December 24th. This is December 18th, so just a few more days. Just a few more days to have fun on the radio, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The story about the drones. Oh, my gosh. First of all, let me just tell you my sense of it. From the very beginning, I've always felt like there was something at the core of this that was real and concerning. And I still feel that way. But I do believe that there's a lot of stuff that is sort of cluttering up the airspace over New Jersey and other places. I think that a great number of the things that you're seeing right now are hobbyists who have decided, hey, let's go up with our drone and look for drones. And I think so you're seeing drones. Yeah, it's a drone, but that's just some guy around the corner, having a little fun. I think that there is, in some cases, over military bases, there are anti-drones that are counter drones designed to monitor and take out other drones. I think some of that is going on, and some of that has been seen. And I think that people are looking up into the sky and to the untrained eye for the very first time now. They're out there looking at the sky, and every light that moves in the sky they believe is a drone. And, some of them are planes, some of them are helicopters, some of them are, completely explainable things, and some of them are drones. But it's hard to separate the wheat from the chaff as to what's real. I believe there is at the core of this story something that is real and something to be concerned about. We know, for example, that military installations have been reporting these for more than a year. It was a year ago. Langley Air Force Base shut down for 17 days because of drone incursions. Now, that's real. We told you about that a long time ago, but it's come back to our attention, and we've been talking about it a little bit more because of all the other thing that's been happening. And so yeah, there are drones flying over sensitive installations, and that is of concern. Who's flying these things, and who's responsible for them is apparently very difficult for them to track down. But some of the other stuff, well, I mean, you talk to the people in New Jersey. Here's Ryan Hurd. He's the mayor of a small New Jersey town.
Last night, that cloud cover started breaking. So I was able to notice roughly 4 different drones in the sky that definitely should not be there.
Yeah, and the government, when people in the highest levels of government who's gotten briefings about this walk away, not saying they haven't really learned very much.
Different entities, there's not a vessel offshore doing this, and they're not collecting data. Okay, then what is it?
Yeah, that's the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, trying to make sense of it all. He's frustrated too.
So I have the exact same frustration that you do.
That's what is this thing? Well, it's not clear, but let me give you the very latest, and then we'll throw out one theory. You ready? From USA Today. This is a great headline. Zap it and put it in a bag. Inside the military's response to drones flying over bases. In recent years, Drones swarmed the site of a planned military exercise, forcing U.S. Northern Command, responsible for protecting the homeland from attack, to delay the exercise, said one official. There have been more than 5,000 reported drone sightings in recent weeks that have captivated and freaked out East Coast residents and have been commonplace at sensitive U.S. military sites across the country. There have been hundreds, perhaps thousands, of drone incursions at remote military installations, drawing little public attention, but they have disrupted sensitive operations, according to the Pentagon officials who spoke to USA Today on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive military operations. A critical concern, foreign adversaries have identified a seam in the U.S. response to drone surveillance. U.S. military forces have the authority to take down drones, blasting them from the sky, or severing their navigational links by radio jamming if the aircraft penetrate airspace over a base and pose a threat. Yet once outside that airspace, the drone becomes the responsibility of local law enforcement. In the vast, sparsely populated areas that are home to many military installations, the response is often too little and way too late, according to a defense official who has dealt with some incursions. Another senior official at the Pentagon has said the Pentagon has been too passive in the face of a growing threat, and I believe this is true. I really do believe this is right. The official offered a solution to an unidentified drone: zap it, put it in a bag, and exploit it for clues about its origin and intent. The Air Force, in fact, has done so. Drones have been taken down by Air Force personnel in recent years, said Ann Stefanik, an Air Force spokeswoman. She declined to provide further details, citing operational security concerns. Yet legal concerns and worries about debris causing damage or death on the ground have hamstrung the response. The military does have a robust air defense system in place to defend against the potential of hijacked airlines, but the same can't be said for drones, said David Depchula, a dean of the Mitchell Institute of Aerospace Studies and a retired three-star Air Force general. Just as no one thought about airliners causing harm before 9/11, we need to recognize the negative potential and lethal potential of drones that are being seen around the world in their use for military and hostile purposes. Yes, that's the thing. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to. The drones, okay, they say, well, there's no hostile intent. Right now, maybe there's no hostile intent. But you know, it may be, okay, we poke, if we're say a foreign adversary, we poke, we prod, we fly our drones, we see how far we go, we measure your reaction, and when there is none, then we have the drone that goes in that is a potential threat. Or you got some crazy nut who decides to put up a drone that can hurt people. You know, and you know, that potential does exist. And does that mean that everybody who owns a drone is a national security threat? No, I own a drone. I use it for photography. I'm a hobbyist. I piddle around with them. I've owned several drones over the course of my life, and they're amazing technology, and they're a lot of fun, and great for photography, and that's what I use them for. But even I can see how this could potentially be a threat. So let's imagine January 20th, somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million people are on the mall to see Donald Trump sworn in, and somebody decides to fly a drone up the mall. Can you imagine the chaos? Can you imagine, you know, it could be somebody wanting to do harm. It could be, you know, I don't want to wish that on anybody, but I mean, we have to look at this as a real threat. How do you then deal with that? Then it's a delicate question, and there are real legitimate issues to be discussed about this. Washington Examiner, the drone problem out of control. What's going on? For one, massive public attention and media interest are fueling some false reporting. I believe that's true. People seek participation in seemingly extraordinary events. They want to be part of the fun. This means the stars are reported as drones so folks can tell their friends, I saw one. Flight tracking evidence and analysis by aeronautical experts also suggest that a majority of these reports pertain to hobbyist drones, aircraft misidentified as drones or misidentified meteorological and astronomical phenomena. Still, there remains the problem that the federal government appears both incompetent and deceptive about the origin, intent, and possible threat of drones that continue to fly without identification of their type, intent, or operator. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. That's the thing. Is there some clutter around all of this? Yes. There's a lot of clutter. But is there at the core of this something that you should be concerned about and the federal government should be concerned about? Abso-freaking-lutely, you should be. FBI warns New Jersey residents not to shoot down drones or point lasers at aircraft. This is a problem. Basically, I'm going to tell you something you may not know. I've heard people say, well, if that drone flies over my house, I'm going to shoot it down. You'll be shooting down an aircraft, and there will be an FAA investigation. It's an FAA-registered aircraft, in most cases. So if you shoot one down, there's going to be federal authorities who come to ask questions. So, you don't want to shoot it down, probably. You want to be careful about that. By the way, it's a real question. Well, it's my property. Yeah, but you don't own the air rights over your property. Are you going to shoot down that 747 that flies out of B&A that happens to pass over your property? No. That's the same way the government looks at it. But, again, I wouldn't be shooting one down, and I wouldn't point lasers at aircraft because that thing you think may be a drone may be a helicopter. And believe me, you point a laser at a helicopter, and the police are going to be coming and knocking on your door pretty quick. So be careful about that. Don't get carried away. In a statement released by the FBI and the New Jersey State Police, authorities expressly warned against such activity, citing an increase in pilots of manned aircraft who have been hit in the eyes with lasers after being misidentified as a drone by someone on the ground. Officials say there is also a concern that people on the ground could also mistakenly fire weapons at what they believe to be an unmanned aircraft system and find out it is actually a manned aircraft. So, yeah, those two things are probably not a good idea. I mean, when you hit a pilot with drones in a darkened aircraft, it blinds them and it incapacitates them because their eyes are adjusted for the darkness at night. And so then all of a sudden you hit them with a very, very bright light, and now they can't see anything. And it can do harm. And so they take a drone, they take laser strikes very, very, very seriously. There was a drone bill that came up in the Senate. Washington Times, drone bill blocked in Senate. An effort to push through new authority to detect and interdict drones was blocked by the Senate Wednesday after Senator Rand Paul said it's too soon to rush a solution that could be trampling on American rights. Top Democrats had pushed the bill as a snap response to the drone sightings in New Jersey in recent weeks. They said the federal government has the authority and capability to act, but doesn't have the capacity to be everywhere. State and local governments are everywhere, but lack the authority. The utter confusion surrounding these drone sightings show that the feds can't respond to it all on their own, said Senator Chuck Schumer. The most logical thing to do is say, let the localities have the authority. But Mr. Paul from Kentucky said, we're moving too quickly. He said the Biden administration has insisted the drones pose no threat over New Jersey, even as the president asked for more powers. He said that's inconsistent. Tell us what the problem is. Fair enough. Fair enough. And look, here's the thing. We've got to come to terms with drone technology. I think those of us in the drone world who have been flying drones as hobbyists for a while have long understood that there's going to come a time and a place where you're going to be seeing a ton of drones. Amazon is going to deliver, packages to your front door by drone. Instead of having the Uber Eats people deliver you food, a drone is going to drop your pizza on the front porch. This is going to happen. These kind of things, in fact, they're already happening in some places. And they're going to become so commonplace that we won't even hardly glance up when a drone flies overhead, just like we don't really look up now when we hear an airplane. That's going to happen. And so we need to understand that drone technology has a commercial use. It will be used more and more in the days going forward. But there is also a way that these drones can be used for nefarious purposes. Spying, there's one. They can be weaponized, as we have seen in war zones. It's going on in Ukraine right now. Weaponized drones. It's a very dangerous thing. So we've got to figure this out. There's no doubt about it. Meanwhile, in New York, the governor says the feds will deploy a drone detection system in New York. It's an answer to make the federal government look like it's doing something. And there's a story from the New York Post. Spy drones from China are likely the cause of some of this unexplained aircraft wreaking havoc over the U.S., House Foreign Affairs chair says in a bombshell claim. This is Congressman McCall of Texas, who's high up in the House Intelligence Committee. He says, I was with NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. He said that these drones have been reported over military sites, military bases. I would not think that those are friendly. I would think that those are adversarial, and we need to identify who is behind those drones. So my sense of it is, at the core, there is something that is real and should be concerning. It is a potential national security threat, and we need to deal with that, and we need to find out who's responsible for it, and we need to find a way to mitigate that problem. But I also believe that a lot of what is being seen now is not that core problem. It's a whole lot of other people who decided to get out their DJI drones and fly around for a little while. 21 past the hour now. Merry Christmas from the entire family at Busy Bee. They have a lot of good deals going on right now. Happy holiday deals. Busy Bee has a limited number of 1 1/2 to 3 ton split heat pumps for residential unit replacements for only $6,995. That includes labor, equipment, material, warranty. This system offers a great balance of energy efficiency and year-round comfort for residential homes. Or how about a $69 mainline camera inspection from the outside cleanout, or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? In other words, if you buy, let's say, a basic air duct cleaning, they'll upgrade to the next package level for free. You buy the middle tier package, they upgrade you to the premium air duct cleaning package for free. And get a $500 gift card after installation of a whole home main water or drain line replacement, or a whole home water or drain repipe. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 775-7833. Learn more at busybehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Say, does your back hurt right now? Well, you know what that is? It's really pressure on your nerves in most cases. And listen, we wish there were some pill or spinal cream that you could apply that would solve that problem. But in most cases, if you have back pain, there's a couple of surgeries. One is the surgical route. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. It has helped me with my lower back and my neck problems. Their state-of-the-art facilities offer high-tech equipment and the latest non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half-off spinal decompression. I said half off. Also half off the KT knee machine, which is like spinal decompression, but it's aimed at helping you with knee pain. If you're a new patient, here's what you get: an exam, a consultation, and your first treatment. The first treatment toward feeling better, and all of that $23. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009 and learn more at painisbad.com.
A legal precedent set in Middle Tennessee over whether hemp is marijuana. We'll tell you about it at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 minutes past the hour. That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom, Chris Weber in the control room, and I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, on this 18th day of December, a rainy day. It's a good day if you're a duck. Other than that, pretty miserable. I mean, it came a golly washer out in my neck of the woods.
I almost turned around and took a nap because it was thundering. Yep. Slow rolling thunder.
I know. Yeah. And that's good sleeping weather for me. I had a hard time rolling out of the sack this morning.
Yep.
But I did. I had to get up and get to town. I went downtown today.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. I was right there where you are.
Well, you should have stopped in, Brother Brian.
Well, I had to get back here to the house so I could do the show.
Well,
isn't that weird?
Funny how that works.
You got to get home to go to work.
Yeah, I had to go home so I could be at work. That's right. Anyway, and it was really coming down. So hopefully, this stuff will sort of thin out. It came down in Watertown so heavy that there were huge puddles in places where I've never seen puddles before. So
yeah, I saw that on my way to work. There was just the ditch alongside the road. It was full of water. It was probably 2 feet of water, about 3 feet wide.
Well, at one point, Joan Jones was reporting the National Weather Service saying 4 inches per hour in some places.
Yeah, that's a lot of rain.
It is.
I drained my pool and then winterized it. And you're supposed to keep the water levels low in the pool so that the water doesn't seep back into the system that you've winterized, right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Seeping back in now.
It's seeped back in. It's filling up, man. I'm telling you. It's filling up with water and a lot of leaves off of these dadgum Bradford pears. Oh, my gosh. Yep. Every leaf on my property, it's almost like there's a suction attraction. And they are sucked right over to the pool. Mm-hmm. Oh, I hate that.
Pool. You're going to have a talk with Bradford.
Yeah. Bradford, let's have a talk about your pears.
Your pears are under control.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, those trees. I hate those trees. But anyway, I hope that you're doing very well. I will say this. I had a very good conversation today with the management here at Super Talk 99.7. I've been saying to you that I'm going to be retiring from a full-time show on the 24th, but that I'm going to be here and do things to some degree going forward. And that we were here today to sort of flesh that out and decide how that's all going to look. And I can report to you, I felt very good about the conversation. And so I think I can say without fear of contradiction that I'm going to be around a lot doing things. I just won't be doing a daily 4-hour broadcast. So again, when I say I'm retiring, yes, I'm retiring from a full broadcast. Most people think, I don't know how they think this works, but a lot of people think you just come in and turn on a microphone and talk for 4 hours.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But that's not the way it works. I put in almost as much time in doing research as I do doing the show. Almost.
It's
almost
never ending.
Yeah. And so, to prepare a show like this takes a lot of work. And so it's a full day It's not like digging ditches, right? You know, I'm not out here.
Sure.
I'm not out working in the fields, but I mean, but it's a full day, and so as I retire, I want to pull back from having to do that. However, that said, on occasion, people go on vacation. Guess who's going to be slipping in?
Brother Brian.
That's right.
So you may be heard in any part of the day.
And not only on this station, but on other Cumulus stations around the country, I'll be filling in as well. So look at me. I know.
See, I think Joan Jones in the morning has 2 months vacation, Brother Brian.
Well, I'm not going to be doing the news.
Nice try.
Nice try. But I would, you know, if you add up all of the hosts that we have, everybody's got some vacation time, and
right.
I mean, you could almost become a full-time employee just doing that.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'll be doing that some, and there'll be others who do it as well, but I'll be doing that some, and it looks like I feel very good after my conversation today about my relationship with Super Talk 99.7 going forward. So I, again, will be stepping away from the full-time show, but I won't be very far away, and if there's breaking news, you can count on me to be there. Absolutely. All right, 31 past the hour, time for the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And Brother Brian will be speaking with the fellas over at Beacon Capital Management about this later this hour. The Dow has ended the day more than 1,100 points down. Speaking of traffic, 2nd Avenue between Commerce and Broadway opens this Friday, just ahead of the 4th anniversary of the Christmas Day bombing in downtown Nashville. And a law firm says a legal precedent has been set in Middle Tennessee over whether hemp is actually marijuana. Here's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder.
2 Tennessee businesses will recover now $735,000 after Spring Hill police illegally took away their legal hemp inventory, according to the firm called Litson that represents these businesses. Back in May, Litson filed a civil rights lawsuit on behalf of an old school vapor and sack wholesale in Spring Hill. The suit claims Spring Hill police illegally seized $1.35 million worth of legal hemp products, or over 230 pounds. The suit said the officers were acting partly on District Attorney Brent Cooper's claim that hemp and marijuana are the same thing. Today, an attorney with the firm says the settlement sends a powerful message about protecting legal business interests and highlights the differences between hemp and marijuana. So now the state of Tennessee and the city of Spring Hill will have to compensate these businesses.
Federal Reserve handing down another cut to the interest rate, the third this year, and the last before President-elect Trump takes office.
0.25 percentage point makes a statement analysts like, but it's still small. Though Fed Chair Jerome Powell says the job market remains solid and
the economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years.
The goal of getting inflation down to 2% has been close for months, but is still not achieved. So the central bank signals that it expects to reduce rates more slowly next year than previously considered.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Crash South Nashville, 440 eastbound before I-24. A crash in Creve Hall blocking the left 2 lanes, 65 southbound near the Hogan Road overpass. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Make this a magical Christmas with help from the folks at Genesis Diamonds. You'll love what's happening this month. They got 0% 5-year interest on a financing. So basically the way this works is you go in, you pick out anything you like, divide the price by 60, and that will be your monthly payment. Everything then becomes affordable, right? Guys, Genesis has what women's love, from simple diamond stud earrings to amazing one-of-a-kind designer bracelets. Their showcases are filled with exquisite diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands. You can't miss with these gifts from the folks at Genesis. All of Genesis' exclusive designers are showcasing their latest creations so you can get her something truly unique and special. And Genesis non-commissioned experts will help you pick out that gift that's sure to bring tears to her eyes on Christmas morning. Relax, no pressure at Genesis. They will make it very easy for you guys. This year, get her the most romantic, most memorable gift of the season. Genesis Diamonds, best value, best selection, best quality, best overall experience. Get holiday store hours, direction, and finance details at genesisdiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice. So we were talking earlier about drones, and I think at the core of the drone hysteria, and there is some hysteria about it, is that there is something that is very concerning, and could be a national concern. And some people think it's the Chinese. It may be the Chinese. I don't know if the Chinese are behind the drones, but there is little doubt that the Chinese are bad actors, and that they have definitely infiltrated our telecom systems, our telephone systems, and I mean that cell phone is being monitored by the Chinese. How about that, right? Biden advisors are asked to use special accounts and stay away from texting and making phone calls because they feel like the Chinese are monitoring the communications of key individuals, senior individuals in the U.S. government. Mayorkas admits that, yes, we now know that the Chinese, in a very sophisticated way, have infiltrated our telecom and our cell phone systems in America.
China has, in fact, hacked into our telecommunications providers, some of them. And the extent of it is quite serious. And I should say that in response to that, we have taken action. We in the federal government have stood up a unified coordination group, a multi-agency response to this hack. Just today, our Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency published mobile communications best practices that everyone should read, especially people in positions of responsibility in the United States government. It's a very sophisticated hack. I can't speak publicly to how it occurred, but the telecom providers are focused intensely on it, and they are working in partnership with us to remediate it.
But how long has this been going on? Months?
It is not an overnight hack. This is a very sophisticated one.
And it's still going on.
And it is still going on. And China is very active in this space.
Well, China, they are trying to keep up with us in many, many ways. I mean, I think that some of these drones are Chinese, and the Chinese are trying to infiltrate and do what they did with the Chinese spy balloon. They're trying to look at things in our country, and look at sensitive installations, poke and probe our national defenses with regard to drones. It's clear that they have now apparently hacked into our telephone system. So conversations that are being had now are being monitored by the Chinese in a very, we are told, very sophisticated way. The Chinese have their claws into TikTok. Now, you know how I feel about the TikTok. I mean, it may be a fun thing and your kids love it and the kids are watching it. But, if your kid is looking on TikTok, you need to understand that there's a very good chance the information on your child's phone and perhaps your phone as well, by extension, is sitting on a server somewhere in China. And they are using TikTok as a way to infiltrate this country and to gain intelligence. You say, well, I don't have any intel. Well, what if your kid is on TikTok and you happen to work for the military? Maybe your phone has some information. And by extension, they can find a way, a backdoor into your phone. It is a really serious thing. The government wants to shut it down. Trump is of two minds because he loves TikTok. It helped him in the election, but he does understand that it's a national security threat of some kind, and so they've been trying to force them to sell it. Supreme Court considers TikTok ban. Justices to hear oral arguments next month, days before the ban is set to take effect. With the ban set to take effect on January 19th, the court scheduled fast-track oral arguments on January 10th on whether the law violates the First Amendment. Justices' move comes 2 days after TikTok and a group of content creators sought their intervention. Congress enacted the ban earlier this year with bipartisan support in response to concern that TikTok was a threat to national security. Lawmakers received classified briefings in which intelligence officials warned that China could use the app, one of the most widely used social media apps and popular news source, to spread Chinese propaganda and surveil Americans. An appeals court in Washington upheld the law earlier this month. The ban prohibits mobile app stores such as Google and Apple from letting users download or update TikTok and bars internet hosting services from supporting the app. The law does not make it illegal to use TikTok, but the ban could quickly make the app inoperable. The app's parent company, Beijing-based ByteDance, has said it can't and won't sell its business to the U.S., someone in the U.S. So it's a standoff. What will the Supreme Court do? National security, apparently, at the forefront of that decision. We need to think of, as long as we're talking about national security, we need to think of these gangs that have come into the country as a national security threat. That's right. They've got they've got roots and connections that are with some pretty unsavory people, according to Dan Bruner, former FBI official, who knows a lot about Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua,
The problem is, under the Trump administration, the FBI was capable of attacking these gangs, MS-13, other organized crime, transnational criminal organizations. Under the Biden administration, their hands were tied. They didn't have the tools that they could utilize. It's a clear and present danger to the United States and national security. There's almost 29 states that have a Tren de Aragua presence. My calculations are 3,000 to 5,000 active members. So that's not the children that they're recruiting in these migrant communities or in the communities of the United States. So this is a national problem that the FBI, working with HSI and our local partners, have to attack these utilizing RICO. There's so many migrants coming into this country. There's no way, they're overwhelmed at the border for them to run criminal checks. So they're just letting in individuals into this country. And I believe a lot of them have criminal intentions, both international terrorists all the way to MS-13 gang members and everything in between. We have to, lock down our border. We have to correct the last 4 years and right the ship.
Listen to Victor Avila, who was an ICE special agent, and he studied Tren de Aragua for a long time.
I have been studying Tren de Aragua for a long time. I've been getting a lot of updates and briefings from a lot of specialists that deal with this. This is not a gang. This is reminiscent of a cartel because of the organization, because of the backing of money, finances, activity with the actual cartel in Mexico. And more troubling is their association with, obviously, the link with Venezuela and the Maduro regime, but especially the contact that they have and the relationship with Hezbollah and Iran, because this is what my intelligence contacts are telling me to say, please mention this, Victor, because this is how it makes these group of individuals a lot more dangerous, which makes it a big national security issue. These are terrorist organizations, in my opinion, that should be dealt that way. We have to approach them a very different way, and I think we are starting January 20th.
Well, I hope so. I hope that we take it very seriously. But, I mean, are you hearing what he says? They have connections to Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran. Tren de Aragua is not just a bunch of thugs, who came across the border. It is a transnational terrorist organization. And it's everywhere. It's TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, says that they are here in the major cities of Tennessee. Tren de Aragua is here in Nashville. It is in Memphis. It is in Knoxville. So it is something that we must take seriously. It's not just some people who are being thuggish in an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. And who do we blame for this? We blame the Biden administration because they came right across the border with everybody else who was coming here just trying to maybe find a better way of life or some economic security. But among all those other people, there necessarily aren't bad people. There were some bad people. And Tren de Aragua is not just a bunch of local thugs running a shakedown operation in Aurora, Colorado. It is a serious organization with deep ties to other terrorist organizations. We must take it seriously. I don't think the Biden administration is taking it seriously. I think the police chief in Aurora, Colorado, is finally taking it seriously because they've heard him say some very, very powerful things about the federal government and its frustration of them not wanting to do anything. All they want to do is let people in. Let people in. We don't really care what happens after that. Well, what's happening after that in some cases is very concerning. National security threat from Tren de Aragua. The Senate has passed its annual defense policy bill. Some things, we talk about national security and support for the military. The Senate voted to pass today an $895 billion annual defense policy bill that includes a pay raise for U.S. service members and provisions that restrict transgender care. The bill passed 85-14, now heads to President Biden's desk for his signature. The legislation scored more bipartisan votes in the Senate than it did in the House, where more Democrats voted no on the legislation in violation of the transgender provisions. The bill prohibits military health provider TRICARE from paying for transgender care that could result in the sterilization of children under 18. The legislation passed the House last week 281 to 140, 16 Republicans voting no. Only 81 Democrats voting yes, 124 voting no, a much larger margin than in years past, with the legislation typically enjoying bipartisan support. $895.2 billion allocated toward defense and national security will be spent. It will be voted on more than 2 months after the start of the fiscal year. It represents a 1% increase over last year's budget, a smaller number than some defense hawk would have liked. So that is good news. And now it's another topic for another segment, but it looks like we are going to avoid a government shutdown. But a lot of Republicans are not very happy about how that is taking place, because they feel like it's another bloated omnibus spending bill, and that there's been no discipline when it comes to spending the federal taxpayers' dollars. We'll call it 50 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. You know, the company Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, it takes you more than 2 weeks just to get in the door, just to get an appointment. But not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car right now. So if you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, give the folks at Eurofix a call. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take your pain away and take it away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com.
A Middle Tennessee police department ordered to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for illegally seizing hemp products. Details coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, surely not everyone was kung fu fighting.
Well, I mean, you know, if you want to believe Carl, everyone was.
Everyone was kung. They said everyone was kung fu. This was, believe it or not, the number one song from the year 1974.
Yes, sir.
Let's just listen to a little bit of it.
Love the flute.
Yeah. There's nothing better than a good jazz flute in a disco song. Yeah. Well, anyway, the reason I'm playing this song, Kung Fu Fighting, is that was December 1974. That was the last time we had a 10-day losing streak on the Dow.
Ooh.
50 years ago. That song is hard to believe, 50 years old. But, yeah, I mean, in 1974, December of 1974 was the last time the Dow had down days, 10 days in a row. So something is going on, and quite frankly, the Dow numbers today, and I'll give them to you in just a bit, were pretty shocking. That brings us to the other news of the day economically, which is the fact that apparently the Fed has cut the interest rates by 0.25%. Not a half, but a quarter. So, you know, this is a very interesting time right now. Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 0.25 percentage points, third reduction of the year. How will that impact interest rates? Well, it'll be interesting to see how it does. If you're looking at interest rates for mortgages and stuff, you know, I'm always told that the two are not particularly related, but it does have some impact. So you might want to check if you're looking to refi and get out one of those higher interest loans. Maybe it's reached the point where you can do that. You know, check with your bank on that. So there you have that, Kung Fu Fighting and the Dow down more than 10 days in a row. So let's get to the numbers, shall we? You ready? The Dow down 1,123 points today. That's 2.6%. It has a 2.6% hit on the Dow. The S&P 500 is down just a hair short of 3%, down 178 points. The NASDAQ is down 3.5%. That's 716 points. So what's driving all of this red negativity on the major indices? Time to check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, rough day in the market. Don't know about that Santa Claus rally today, and really all eyes were on the Fed. They did drop rates. That was expected, a quarter point, and that was kind of where the good news stopped relative to the Fed. What they came out and said also was signaling their interest rate cuts next year, which the market did not like. In September, that was estimated to be 4 cuts. The news today, based on some inflation numbers, is now the expectation is 2 cuts. So that translates to the market that the Fed believes inflation is going to continue to be sticky into next year and even potentially a little bit higher. Market does not like that. They did say it would be data dependent. We get the PCE index tomorrow, which is an inflation number, so it'll be interesting to see that. But it was all driven by the Fed today and not particularly a good outlook in the short term.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And to find out more about what John Maxon and all the good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 4 o'clock, time for the news on Super Talk.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Looks like that continuing resolution in our nation's capital is in trouble.
Posted last night, the 1,500-page bill quickly drew the ire of influential conservatives. Elon Musk began actively lobbying against it on his X platform, and now 2 top Trump advisors tell ABC News the president-elect is against it too. With little more than 48 hours to go before the shutdown deadline, the top House Democrat responds online. Hakeem Jeffries warns Republicans, quote, "You break the bipartisan agreement, you own the consequences that follow."
That's Stephen Portnoy reporting. Right now in Middle Tennessee, a law firm says the Spring Hill Police Department has been ordered to pay $750,000 for illegally seizing local businesses' hemp products because they were ordered to by a district attorney who doesn't understand the difference between hemp and marijuana. Channel 4 says the district attorney is quoted in the lawsuit as saying hemp is the same thing as marijuana and directed police to take the product from Old School Vapor and Sack Wholesale in Columbia. Well, Alex Little, the attorney on the case, says this settlement is more than a financial recovery. It's a critical statement about law enforcement's responsibility to understand and respect the law. Hemp is a legal agricultural product, and businesses should not live in fear of arbitrary seizures based on ignorance. The suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson could be returned to New York as soon as tomorrow. Luigi Mangione reportedly waived extradition in Pennsylvania today. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced another interest rate cut today.
The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state and remains solid.
Yeah, the quarter-point cut today is the third of the year, the last before President-elect Trump takes office. Powell signaling there may not be as many cuts next year as first thought. And a new push to put more money in the pockets of millions of people on Social Security.
Soon it will be on its way to the White House.
That is Republican U.S. Senator Susan Collins after the test vote passed today, expanding Social Security benefits for retirees who also get pensions, like teachers, firefighters, and cops. And the Supreme Court says it will hear TikTok's case against the law requiring that the app be sold by its Chinese parent company by January 19th or get banned. Oral argument set for Friday, January the 10th, 9 days before that ban is to take place. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. .40 eastbound, the South Loop is shut down due to a crash right there between Charlotte Avenue and the Broadway exit. Got a crash in South Nashville, 440 eastbound, right before I-24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Congress is about to pass a bill, or it's being considered, it could pass one of these omnibus spending bills, continuing resolutions to fund the government. If it goes down in the House of Representatives, that means that the government would shut down unless they could come to terms by, I think, Friday. Now, look, I think it's probably going to pass. It's not going to pass with overwhelming Republican support, but enough Republicans will support it and Democrats will support it to get it through the House the way it looks right now. But, there are a lot of people pretty irritated about what the Congress is doing with this continuing resolution. Why in the world can't Congress do its business the way they're supposed to? There's supposed to be hearings, and you submit for each different department, and everybody there's a process for this in the legislative process over in Capitol Hill. And, then sometimes, the House and the Senate have to get together in a conference committee to work out their differences. Well, that system seems to have gone away a long time ago. The old-fashioned way of passing a budget on Capitol Hill is an archaic idea, I guess, now. Now all we do is we pass these omnibus spending bills. They're just loaded up with pork. It continues to, and it's always, we got to pass it. We can't let the government shut down. We must do this. Nobody wants the government to shut down. Everybody, if we don't want to. People would be angry and they would point at us if the government shut down. Let the government shut down. You know what? Do your jobs, Congress. Do this the way it's supposed to be done. But that seems to be a quaint notion these days. Doing it the old-fashioned way, coming together in committee and working on these things and then pushing them forward and then, working out the differences between the House and Senate. And then both bodies come in and pass a complete budget that has gone through the legislative process. Instead, no, it's done in smoke-filled rooms and a small group of people get together and throw things in there. It's, one person said it's a dumpster fire. And I agree with that. What's even worse is that this is a lame duck Congress, so guess what they're going to do? They're going to vote themselves a pay raise. That's right. Now, look, I will say, in fairness, it's been since 2009 since they have given themselves a cost of living adjustment. But, I think that given the fact that Congress, has now a 19% approval rating, most people are not in favor of giving congressmen and members of the House and Senate more money. So, 1,547-page spending bill unveiled to the world for the very first time on Tuesday night. It takes a while to plow through these things and find out where all the pork is. So there's stuff hidden all through this thing, you can be sure. And a pay raise. Now, the way it works right now is that there is legislation that blocks giving legislators a pay raise, and so you have to strip out that language in order for a pay raise to go through, a cost of living pay raise. What does it mean for most members of Congress? A $6,600 a year raise for lawmakers, according to the Congressional Research Service from September. Congress, as I said, has a 19% approval rating among the public. The low approval rating comes after a Republican-led House that swept to power in 2023, with promises to restore normal budgeting and large spending cuts failed to do both, this according to justthenews.com. The pay raise provision of the bill has been greeted with bipartisan opposition in the past. In addition to conservative lawmakers from the House Freedom Caucus, Representative Jared Golden, Democrat of Maine, said he will vote against the bill if the pay raise provision stays inside ahead of the final vote. See, they're not voting for themselves. They're voting for the next Congress. So a great number of people who aren't going to be there can vote for this, and they got nothing to lose. Just the News reached out to House Speaker Mike Johnson's office and asked if he supports the salary increases for lawmakers, but did not receive a response before publication. $6,600 raise. That's a pretty good raise. Congress often cleverly rebrands politically toxic items like congressional pay raises as they begin referring to them as congressionally directed spending. This is not the first time in recent memory Congress has taken advantage of a last-minute lame duck spending bill to benefit itself. In the 2022 lame duck spending bill, Congress snuck in a provision to allow reimbursement for a number of living expenses, including lodging, food, and travel, while on the job in D.C. According to the New York Times, some individual members could be reimbursed up to $34,000 the first year this was in place. How much does a member of Congress make? $174,000 a year. Though some leadership positions, well, they make more. I think the Speaker is well over $200,000. Yes, $223,500. The Senate President pro tempore, who's in the line of succession, makes $193,400. So, that's a pretty good salary. But, congressmen, they're always talking about, well, I got to have a house here. I got to have a house back in the home district. This is there's a lot of travel. There's a lot of expense to having that. There were some people who got elected to Congress for a while who slept in their offices. They were here 3-4 days a week. Then they'd run back home on the weekends, catch a flight out on Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, go back home for the weekend, visit with the family, come back to Washington, sleep in their office. I think that's fine. What's in the funding agreement beyond the pay raise? $100 billion in disaster aid, $10 billion more than you might expect. The package includes $2.2 billion for Small Business Administration Disaster Loan Program, $21 billion for disaster relief for farmers. The Department of Housing and Urban Development Program for Disaster Relief would receive $12 billion. Federal Highway and Road Disaster Relief would be $8 billion. Now, we got to rebuild the roads, clearly. I mean, out in East Tennessee, on the Tennessee-North Carolina border, a lot of roads got washed away. A lot of bridges no longer exist. Economic aid for farmers. Reforms for pharmacy benefit managers. That's pretty complex. I'll have to dig into that another time. Money to replace that Maryland bridge that got hit by the ship. Rebuilding the bridge would cost between $1.7 and $1.9 billion. There's a measure in there to give RFK Stadium, the old RFK Stadium in D.C., back to the District of Columbia, paving the way for the Washington Commanders football team to return there. They would build a new stadium. Pay raises for lawmakers for the first time officially since 2009. So a lot of stuff going on there. And look, it's interesting. I want us to go back to doing it the old-fashioned way. Elon Musk against it. A lot of conservative, fiscal conservative Republicans are very much against this. So if this passes, you need to understand the government will continue to be funded by a vote that is a few Republicans and a few Democrats, and then a lot of Republicans are not going to vote in favor of this thing. But it meant, they're going to try to cobble enough votes to get it passed through the House with the help of the Democrats. The Democrats have warned, hey, if you kill this bill, then you are responsible for the government shutdown. So there is all of that. Since we're talking about the swamp, there's another swamp story that I think merits some attention. It has to do with Matt Gaetz. House panel votes to release Matt Gaetz report in a surprise reversal. The reversal, reported first by CNN, represents a stark turnaround from last month, when committee members opted not to release the report after Gaetz resigned from Congress. The previous vote to not release the report was made along party lines, meaning that now some Republicans have decided they want to release it. They have defected. In a statement posted to X, Matt Gaetz, former member of Congress from Florida, a man who was talked about as being the Attorney General for a short period of time, has vigorously denied any wrongdoing, citing the Biden administration's Department of Justice investigation that did not pursue charges after failing to find sufficient evidence. I was charged with nothing, fully exonerated, not even a campaign finance violation, and the people investigated me hated me. Then the very witness the DOJ deemed not credible were assembled by House Ethics to repeat their claims, absent any cross-examination or challenge from me or my attorneys. I've had no chance to ever confront many accusers. I've never been charged. I've never been sued. Instead, House Ethics will reportedly post a report online that I have no opportunity to debate or rebut as a former member of the body. He said that he sent funds to some women he dated or was interested in, but never had sexual contact with anyone under the age of 18. Any claim that I have would be destroyed in court, which is why no such claim was ever made in court. My 30s were an era of working very hard and playing very hard. It's embarrassing, he says, but not criminal, that I have probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in life, but I live a different life now. Gates resigned his seat after being nominated for the position of Attorney General in the days before the House Ethics Committee was set to release a report about a years-long investigation into him regarding allegations of illicit drug use, sexual misconduct, paying for sex with a minor. When he resigned, the Ethics Committee lost its jurisdiction over him, and the precedent dictated that no report be published. But it will be apparently released. Matt Gaetz not happy. It was recently announced that he was going to join One America News Network as a primetime host starting in January. So that's an interesting thing. Look, does he have a good point that, when I leave, then I am no longer under the purview of the House Ethics Committee. And by tradition, if somebody resigns from the House, those reports and those investigations are dropped, and the things that are learned in those investigations generally do not come to light. That has changed in the case of Matt Gaetz. There's been a vote. Republicans joined Democrats. There was enough Republican votes to say, yes, this ought to be released. I don't know. Is it fair? Well, I'll tell you, Gaetz played the system pretty well. He knew this was going to be released, and he was going to take a political hit. And just before it came out, he resigns and gets nominated to be the Attorney General. That lasted, I don't know, how many, half a minute or so. I don't know. It wasn't very long. It's a couple of days. And then the Trump people said, Matt Gaetz, thank you so much for your service, but I think we'll go a different way. And so they did. So it's going to be interesting to see what's in that report and how much damage it does to Matt Gaetz. But what does he care? He's a television talk show host now. And he will go on, I think, to have a pretty good career in that regard. But it's going to be an ugly day or two for Matt Gaetz as we read the details and the details come public. 20 minutes now before the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood have been in business for a quarter century as an independent agency, and that is what you want. Seek out these folks because they can do you some good. See, here's the thing. You go to a company, one company, maybe an online insurance company, and you buy, well, they're just going to take whatever they got off the shelf and try to take that square peg and shove it into the round hole. And it's really probably not a good fit because over at King & Associates Insurance, they'll shop around for you. They'll go to a whole bunch of different insurance companies until they find one that fits your need so that you get a lot of bang for your insurance buck. Maybe not spend as much. That would be the good thing, wouldn't it? I think they can save you money. I think they really can. And the other thing I love is that they give you great customer service. You call this number, 615-329-8121. You don't reach a call center. You reach an actual human being. Have you ever had that experience with one of those online internet companies where you're trying to get a human being to work out some kind of problem and it takes you, well, your call time is going to be 3 hours. But your call is important to us. Well, you won't have that happen over at King & Associates. 20, 25, 30, 35% savings are possible by bundling. So why don't you get your Royal Review today? Save a ton of money. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, Royal Treatment at great rates.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about Spice and Easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It appears that a deal to avoid a federal government shutdown is imploding. We've got this story and more coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock. How you doing out there? I haven't looked at the radar. What's the situation, Ken? Is it still raining big time?
No, it's all well to the east of us now, Brother Brian. Looks like we're going to be dry for a while, and we're going to get real cold.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking about sub-freezing nights here in the very near future.
All right. Well, it is that time of year.
Yeah.
Not much you can do about that.
No.
Well, anyway. Try to take it easy out there on the roads and highways as you get home on this day. We'll try to give you some information. This is an interesting story about the Biden administration. Do you remember when Hillary Clinton used a private email server that she controlled to do State Department business, and it was a huge scandal? And then, she has these fixers who gathered a team of people in the basement. This is no joke. In the basement of the State Department, to go through all of the emails and scrub them, and to find out what the problems were. And I don't know. The whole process was not transparent at all. And but here's the thing: when you're using insecure email for government business, it's a national security threat, because the government systems have certain sophisticated ways of protecting, and then they will be alerted if somebody tries to hack into the system and look at your emails. I'm certain that Hillary Clinton's emails that were on that email server, in fact, a lot of people have said this, we're all but certain that they were being read on a daily basis in China and in Moscow and maybe in other capitals around the world. It was completely vulnerable to hacking. And as somebody said at the time, if our adversaries were any good at all, and he said, and our adversaries are very good at this kind of stuff, they were reading her daily emails. And there was very, very sensitive material coming between that was handled on private servers, on private email accounts, that had to do with daily schedules, what was going on at the State Department, recommendations being made to the president, making decisions and sending them back to the State Department. Policy was being discussed. These were for our foreign adversaries. This is a golden opportunity to spy and find out, the email addresses of all the other people in the government. And it was a huge scandal. Somehow she skated away, and there was never any charge brought against her. Well, here's one from justthenews.com. Biden advisors used insecure pseudonymous email accounts to brief him on sensitive foreign policy. Email records released by the National Archives after a Freedom of Information lawsuit show that then Vice President Biden regularly conducted foreign policy business on his email accounts, his private email accounts that were he had them set up under pseudonyms, and it was all hidden from public scrutiny. The idea was to avoid having these conversations in a way that it would end up in the archives. Right? That was the whole idea. We don't want people poking around in the things we're talking about later. But those emails belong to you. It's your government, after all. New email records released by the National Archives showed then Vice President Joe Biden was briefed about sensitive foreign policy matters by then advisor Anthony Blinken on his private email account, including details about a failed North Korean missile launch. Joe Biden, now president, faced security and scrutiny about potential private email accounts contained on Hunter Biden's infamous laptop. Showed that the then vice president in the Obama administration was using an email address with a pseudonym to communicate about business and official matters with his son and other family members and senior staff. One new email, part of several batches released by the National Archives pursuant to a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, shows that in the hours following a North Korean missile launch in April of 2012, Blinken, who was then Biden's national security advisor, sent a message to the vice president's private email account. This is robinware456gmail.com. That's right, he had a Gmail account. Robinette, I think is his middle name. So robinware456@gmail.com with details about sensitive national security matters. In case you missed it, the North Korean rocket failed somewhere between the first and second stages, Blinken wrote. We will take some time to determine why. The future Secretary of State signed the email, Tony. Just a little sensitive, top secret email on your Gmail account from Tony. 82,000 pages. Blinken followed up on his first email 2 days later, presumably with more updates, but the contents of that communication were redacted because there was very sensitive information involved. So it was redacted for us. It should have been redacted for him. He shouldn't have used it. The memos reviewed by Just the News are part of the several batches of communications released by the National Archives under pressure from a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit by the Southeastern Legal Foundation, prompted by Just the News reporting some 3 years ago. That's how long it takes us to get this stuff. 3 years. Revealed that Biden used at least 3 different pseudonym private email accounts when he was Barack Obama's vice president. In a court filing last October, The archives disclosed that it had 82,000 pages of emails that Biden's center received on 3 email accounts using fake names, dwarfing the number involved in the Hillary Clinton email scandal. The existence of the records suggests, however, that even though Biden was using them, they say, I'm turning the page and almost done. They were using private email addresses to conduct business. They were preserved according to the mandates of federal law. But it wasn't a good policy. Time now for the news at 32 past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and signs that a bipartisan agreement to avoid a government shutdown Friday night is imploding, with President-elect Trump weighing in against this short-term spending measure. One of the reasons he says it includes a pay raise for members of Congress. U.S. stocks taking a nosedive, with the Dow Jones closing more than 1,000 points lower. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
Traders saying this is all about the reality that, yes, the Fed did deliver on that quarter-point interest rate cut as expected today. But looking ahead into next year, and as we know, the markets are forward-looking, the Fed is now projecting fewer rate cuts next year.
Here in Nashville, Metro Council approved money to pay for more school resource officers, but still won't be able to put one in every schools due to staffing shortages. Metro Police says it's currently recruiting more officers. Schools do have a rapid response safety team in place. Those officers, according to Channel 4, respond to at least 11 incidents every day across the district. There was also money approved by Metro Council to improve safety along the banks of the Cumberland River in light of the death of Riley Strain, who police determined fell and drowned back in April. Additional lighting, security upgrades, such as a permanent barrier along Gay Street, are included. TikTok gets a chance to argue against banning it before the U.S. Supreme Court on January 10th, 9 days before the ban would take effect. The House Ethics Committee investigation report of sexual misconduct and drug use allegations against former Congressman Matt Gaetz could be released as soon as tomorrow. And the panel reportedly siding with President-elect Trump when it comes to former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Donald Trump made this in a Truth Social post at about 3 a.m. this morning. He's claiming that Liz Cheney could be in a lot of trouble and that she should be investigated. So Donald Trump's post follows a report released by House Republicans led by Congressman Loudermilk that says that Liz Cheney should face a criminal investigation for her role in investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
That's Selena Wang in Washington. And the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, the South Loop is a mess right now going eastbound. We've got a crash blocking the right lane there at Broadway, and now there's a crash blocking the off-ramp to Broadway. And a crash reported Harding Place at Trousdale Drive in Creve Hall. South Nashville, a crash 440 eastbound right before I-24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you see what happened on the Dow today? Did you see how the investments tanked? Some of them down 3% and more. Listen, you need to take stock of where your investments are. It's good to do that every once in a while, and the folks over at Beacon Capital Management can help you with that. You're not alone. There are steps you can take now to be better positioned regardless of what happens in the market. You deserve the confidence to know that no matter what's going on with the economy, you have a plan that helps keep your financial goals in line with your life's priorities. So if you're in or you're nearing retirement, Beacon Capital Management has a free retirement-ready toolkit just for you. You'll get a Money Enough for Life book, a retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. None of this costs you a red cent. None of it is you're not obligated to do anything as a result of this. There absolutely will be no pressure. It's just good information. Call this number, 615-488-9303, to get your free retirement-ready toolkit. The number again, write it down, 615-488-9303.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Forty past the hour. I'm Brian Wilson. You're listening to The Drive. Glad you're with us on this Wednesday, December 18th. Sort of a gray day. 45 degrees. The rain has cleared out, moved to the east, so that at least that's over with. But I think, man, I saw the rivers were running high and creeks were running high and big puddles today.
Oh, yeah.
As Ken was saying a few moments ago, the rain was coming down at the rate of 4 inches an hour in some places.
It's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. Got to go somewhere. And, everything was already sort of wet. So, wow, what a thing that is. Okay. I want to do some local news here now for a while. And you may not have heard this, but both Memphis and Nashville have ranked among the most unsafe cities during the holiday, according to one study. I wouldn't have thought so, but it's there. Tennessee's two largest cities are among the most unsafe cities in the United States during the holiday season, says a recent study conducted by smart home security company Vivint. The study examined the crime risk of 92 largest U.S. cities and ranked each city by a risk score based on a combined data provided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and other data. The data for the study specifically focused on identifying nonviolent crimes, such as larcenies, motor vehicle thefts, property-related incidents, to highlight the safest cities across the country for residents and visitors during the holiday season. Listen to this. Memphis according to the data, is the third most unsafe city in the United States during the holidays, with a risk score of 31.59. Memphis! I tell you, what's going on in Memphis? And, I don't think I want to go to Memphis. It sounds like things are really bad over there. Nashville, also considered to be an unsafe city around the holiday season, but not as bad as Memphis, thank goodness. Found to be the 24th most unsafe city in the United States. Holiday larcenies and robberies in Nashville were remarkably high, as the city ranked 10th and 18th in those respective crime categories. St. Louis, Missouri ranked the second most unsafe city during the holidays. Oakland, California, the most unsafe city in the United States. Safest? Miami, Florida. Who would have guessed that? Miami. Boise, Idaho. Yeah, I could see that. What happens in Boise?
There's nobody there.
Nobody there. Tampa, Florida. Seem to be very safe places to go for the holidays. The good folks over at the Beacon Center, they're always trying to root out where the pork is every year in the state of Tennessee. The Nashville-based Beacon Center, according to the Tennessee Star, has narrowed down 3 finalists for the Pork of the Year title. And a lot of them have to do with providing support for sports arenas. Bluff City blunder is what Beacon Center is describing the Memphis Area Transit Authority's waste of $10 million of tax on Grizzly suites, furniture, and an office in downtown skyscraper instead of on transit. Well, that's not related to it. And the Beacon Center's next contender for Pork of the Year is Friends with Benefits is the Lebanon City Council for its approval of a $1.5 million incentive package for an unnamed sit-down restaurant plan for the city's west side. Well, as somebody who goes to Lebanon to eat sometimes, I'm in favor of a restaurant, but $1.5 million incentive from the city of Lebanon? It better be one hell of a restaurant, is what I'm saying. I want some good appetizers.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. If we really, I'm going to say out in this part of the world, we have a few chains, but we don't really have like outstanding, mom and pop restaurants. Nothing that, we have diners and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, good places, and they're good, wholesome places to go get a bite to eat. But I'm talking about fine dining, not so much. Watertown needs fine dining.
Well, I know the president of the Chamber of Commerce out in Watertown.
You mean the Peacock? Peacock? Yeah, the Peacock of Watertown. Yeah, he's a good guy. Maybe he can work on that. But here's the one that we've all been waiting for, and it's Nashville. The last contender for this year's biggest waste of tax money is the NFL Nashville's Funding Losers. That's what they say it stands for, which is the NFL's demand that $80,000 in upgrades be made to Nissan Stadium while the new $2.3 billion Titan Stadium is being constructed. So if you want to go in there and cast a vote, they have a poll going on at their website. The winner will be announced on January 6th. That is, $80,000 upgrade Nissan Stadium, which they're about to tear down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. I guess, there's always somebody who can explain that away. But really, $80,000 on a structure that you're about to level.
Just hold off a couple more years, and then you'll have a brand new place.
That's right.
Won't need any upgrades.
Yeah, $2.3 billion for a Titan Stadium if they only had an audience.
And a team.
That would be helpful. Oh, my God. That was brutal. Chris. Governor Lee says that he and other Republican governors are ready to help out on Trump's mass deportation plan. This from WKRN. Governor Lee has joined a group of 26 Republican governors willing to use any and every tool necessary to help President-elect Donald Trump with his plan to deport illegal immigrants, including the use of the Tennessee National Guard if it's helpful. In a joint statement issued December 11th, the Republican Governors Association wrote, "We stand united in support of President Donald Trump's unwavering commitment to make America safe again by addressing the illegal immigration crisis and deporting illegal immigrants who pose a threat to our communities and national security. We stand ready to utilize every tool at our disposal." 2 days before, journalists asked Governor Lee if he would use the National Guard to help President-elect Trump plan for mass deportation. Lee didn't answer directly yes or no, made it clear he agrees with and supports the incoming president's policies. What good news this is. So think about this for a moment. So I'm going to find that number. Yeah, 26 Republican governors. So we have control of the Senate with 53 senators. We have control of the House. It's going to be a little tight at first until some seats get filled, but we're going to be able to control that body, and hopefully not a lot of Republicans will die or have to leave Congress. But so we will have control of that body. We have the presidency, and we have a 6-3 conservative majority, and more than half of the states, 26 states, have Republican governors. If we can't fix things with that, it's about as good as it's going to get. The opportunity is there. I sure as hell hope they don't squander it. And Republicans have a pretty good track record of taking an opportunity and squandering it. Please do not squander this opportunity. You got the White House, you got the House, you got the Senate, you got the Supreme Court by a big margin. In fact, it may be a bigger margin before long. Who knows? And then you've got 26 of the Republican governors. We got the Democrats pinned back about as good as we're ever going to pin them back in modern history. Please don't screw it up. Please. Metro Nashville will pay $220,000. I'm talking about the city of Nashville, $220,000 to women wrongfully pulled over by police. Metro government, Nashville-Davidson County, will pay 2 women a combined $220,000 settlement after they were wrongfully pulled over by Metro Nashville Police Department in a stolen vehicle search in August, and they subsequently sued. On Tuesday, the Nashville Council approved authorizing the settlements of about $110,000 to each woman as part of the meeting's consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved in bulk without any discussion or an individual vote from members of the council. I'd like to have a little conversation about that. According to the information about the lawsuit included in the Tuesday meeting agenda, on the night of August 20th, Metro Nashville police officers stopped the wrong vehicle and conducted a tactical vehicle jam, a maneuver where police vehicles closely to the point of touching surround a suspect vehicle. Those officers were searching for a stolen car they believed was being driven by an armed black man, but the car they stopped, though it was the same make, model, and color as the stolen vehicle, contained 2 black women instead. Additionally, the vehicle's models had two-year difference, and they were different tag numbers. The agenda notes the Metro Nashville Police Department does not dispute that it stopped the wrong vehicle. The officers mistakenly believed the tags had been verified before the stop. According to the agenda, the officers drew their guns, pointed them toward the car, and ordered both women to exit. Police then searched the building and questioned both women before later realizing they had stopped the wrong car. They did not claim any injuries when the stop occurred, but they both later sought medical treatment and counseling. The driver of the vehicle required nearly $29,000 in medical treatment, we're told. And the car repairs cost her more than $10,000, while the passenger's medical treatment cost $6,600. What kind of medical treatment did they need? How were they injured? They did not claim any injuries when the stop occurred, but $29,000 in medical treatment. Well, 29 cents, $35,000 total.
Psychological, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure it was psychological pain. And then there's this. The Metro Council voted last night to allow Morgan Wallen to put up a sign over his new honky-tonk. It got shot down. That thing went down faster than a chair thrown off the roof of Chiefs Bar, and the first time it came up. But they voted down the resolution, and so they said they will allow him to hang a sign over his honky tonk, even though he's had, as you know, some issues. 52 minutes past the hour. All right, so it's the 18th of December, right? And, you know, Christmas is just a few days away, and you're thinking, man, I got to find something for that special someone on my list. Don't give them something that they might take back, something that doesn't really fit their needs, something that's the wrong color, the wrong size, etc. Give them an experience. That's right, give them something, an adventure. Give them an introductory flight experience from Tennessee Flight Training. Now, I just took a flight with these guys. It was a lot of fun. You will meet and fly with a certified flight instructor. My flight was out of VNA. It was fun. I mean, first of all, you're on the runway with big old jets and all kinds of cool stuff. Then you take off and you fly around the city and you look at the skyscrapers and you look down on Nissan Stadium, saw the new stadium under construction, flew along the scenic Cumberland River. You can also book your flight out of Murray County Regional or Shelbyville Municipal Airport. It can be for fun, but I want you to think about this as well. Could be your first step toward getting your pilot's license. And if you didn't know, the aviation industry is facing a pilot shortage right now. So help yourself or a loved one jumpstart a new career in this in-demand, high-paying profession. And right now, save $50 when you purchase an introductory flight experience before December 24th. For more details, call them at this number. Write it down real quick. 1-800-669-0250. Or learn more at tnflighttraining.com. In case you missed it, I'm going to say it again. tnflighttraining.com. Tennessee Flight Training, the skies are calling.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance blasting that spending bill. You got to hear what they're saying coming up at 5. A Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's right. December 1974. This was the number hit on top 40 radio stations around the country. Not everybody was kung fu fighting, but a lot of people were.
Hi-ya!
And the reason we're doing that is because that was December of 1994. The last time...
74, not 94.
I'm sorry, did I say 94? 1974. That was the last time we had such a losing streak on the Dow. The Dow lost 1,100 points today. It's the 10th day it's been down. We haven't had a 10-day losing streak on the Dow since December of 1974 when this song was on the radio.
I'm not sure Carl Douglas actually knows how to do any kung fu. His moves look mighty stiff.
Yeah, I'm saying you're right. So, again, it was bad. 1,100 points down, 1,123 points. S&P down 178, NASDAQ down 716, which was 3.5% of the NASDAQ. So, big, ugly day on the NASDAQ. And the Fed cut interest rates by 0.25%. It is 59 minutes past the hour. Time for news. When we come back in just a few moments, I think we're going to be talking to Congressman John Rose about this spending bill that Congress is about to pass. Not many people happy about it. Stay tuned.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Chances of a government shutdown this weekend have suddenly increased with the president-elect coming out against a short-term spending measure that was the subject of bipartisan negotiations. In a joint statement, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance blasting this bipartisan compromise, saying it contains sweetheart provisions and Democrat giveaways and would see members of Congress getting a pay increase. Trump and Vance say Republicans should only back a short-term spending measure if it also raises the debt ceiling now rather than on their watch next year. U.S. stocks taking a nosedive with the Dow Jones closing more than 1,000 points lower after the Federal Reserve announced it will cut interest rates for a third time since September, a 0.25 point. Here's Elizabeth Schulze on why investors are concerned.
The Fed is now projecting fewer rate cuts next year. And the reason for that is that inflation progress has stalled. Remember, the reason why the Fed was able to start bringing down those borrowing costs is because inflation was getting close to its 2% target. Well, in recent months, we have seen some of that progress slowing.
TikTok gets a hearing before the U.S. Supreme Court to try to keep from getting banned in the U.S.
The High Court says it will hear TikTok's case 9 days before the congressionally imposed ban is set to take effect. A brief order from the court says the justices have for now deferred their decision on whether to extend or block that deadline. TikTok has argued that requiring a sale of the app by Chinese-owned ByteDance violates the First Amendment. President-elect Trump has said he has a soft spot in his heart for the app. But the Biden administration and congressional leaders of both parties say it could serve as a dangerous propaganda and spy tool for Beijing.
Here in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 says TDOT is making changes to its plan to add toll lanes it calls choice lanes to ease traffic congestion. Homes along Joplin Drive and I-24 could be replaced by eminent domain to get land for those lanes. TDOT spokesperson Rebecca Hammond says they'll continue updating the plan as the project moves along.
There are going to be changes and additions to our design to say, well, we like this idea, but we can do this better. You know, the private sector can bring a lot more innovation to the table than we can. And so that's part of the benefits of doing this.
And the next chance for the public to weigh in will be early spring after the updated plans are released. Right now in Nashville, 2 teenagers police say were involved in a series of armed robberies last year are back in jail. 17-year-old Sir Thaw and 18-year-old Nathan Naw accused of robbing another teenager on Tuesday. They got probation in October, and Naw police say was wearing an ankle monitor. Naw arrested sitting on a sofa in a home on Faulkner Drive where police say he had pushed himself inside after telling the residents whom he doesn't know, nor they him, that he was being chased. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Glen Cliff, a vehicle fire blocking the right two lanes, 24 westbound near Briley Parkway. Then we've got the East Loop going westbound at Spring Street, Ellington Parkway downtown. Crash right there at exit 47A. Right two lanes blocked. Just mentioned that. 24 westbound there at Briley Parkway. And then 40 eastbound here on the South Loop. The accident just being cleared up there at Broadway, so things should be getting back up to speed shortly. Over in Williamson County, we've got a crash 65 southbound right after 840. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The conservatives have revolted up on Capitol Hill, saying we're not going to pass that porky bill. It's full of all kinds of fat and pork, and we're not going to go for it. We want to do a clean continuing resolution. And that means that, can they pass this thing or not? Because the Democrats say if you go with a clean bill, we're not going to help you out at all. Let me give you the background very quick, and then we'll turn to Congressman John Rose, who's standing by on the line. So you have a continuing resolution. Government's going to shut down on Friday if you don't pass some kind of government funding bill, and this is what always happens. So it looks like the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, went along and said, well, look, we just got to get this one done, and we'll go along with whatever the Democrats are going to do. So it's a porky little continuing resolution full of all kinds of fat. And then Trump said, no, you don't want to do that. And so now the story suggests that that the Speaker of the House is considering a Plan B, and the Democrats are saying if you come to us with a clean funding bill, which is what the Trump people want, then we're not going to support it, and the thing will likely die. So what's going to happen here? And it's a very complicated and fluid situation. Checking in now on the Newsmaker hotline with Congressman John Rose of the 6th Congressional District. So, I mean, honestly, a lot of people are upset about this, and rightfully so. Whatever happened to the quaint, old-fashioned notion, Congressman, that we did this through regular order, through the committees and conference committees and all of that kind of stuff, and we did it the way it's supposed to be done, instead of waiting till the day before Christmas to do something, and then taking a bill that is full of pork and fat and shoving it down the throats of everybody so they can get home for the holidays.
Well, first of all, Brian, thanks for having me on the drive today, and it's a great honor and privilege to represent the people of Tennessee. I think you're exactly right. I mean, we tried. I think we made a valiant effort. Back in the summer, the House Appropriations Committee passed out all 12 of the appropriations bills, but then we were unsuccessful in getting them done. Of course, the Senate, as they are wont to do, didn't take any of this up. So here we find ourselves again the week before Christmas with the deadline looming and government shutdown hanging in the balance. And unfortunately, this formula, which always seems to work, of here's what you've got to swallow before you go home. And it seems like that has broken down simply because I think there were enough Republicans who were willing, like me, to say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to bust the budget. We're not going to, any further than it already has been done. We're not going to accept a Christmas tree here on the eve of Christmas and spend money we don't have and further mortgage our children's future. And so this, 1,547-page bill that we've gotten less than 24 hours to look at, about a minute per page to digest it, and then they were trying to push through a vote this afternoon, and I think enough of us said no that the Speaker correctly realized this is not the way forward.
So on the Hill.com, which covers the Hill pretty well, Speaker Mike Johnson looking for a Plan B to fund the government ahead of Friday's showdown as Republicans inside and outside the Capitol, including President Trump and his allies, slam his spending package. He says he's examining the option of a clean continuing resolution. But then you got Hakeem Jeffries, who said that Democrats will oppose any federal spending that strays from the bipartisan deal announced the day before, accusing GOP leaders of reneging on the agreement at risk of a government shutdown. So how does it get resolved?
Well, I think that's anyone's bet right now, and the question is, how much resolve does the Speaker have to kind of honor the conservatives within the Republican Party and the principles that we supposedly stand on? This CR included a lot of things that have to get done one way or another. I serve on the Ag Committee. We need an extension of the Farm Bill. To not do so would be disastrous. We've also had some natural disasters, and there's a lot of clamoring for funding, and those touched Tennessee, and I'm sympathetic to that. Mm-hmm. And so, it's you end up with this thing starting out with it seeming like maybe a clean CR is a good idea at this point, but then when you start piling all the other must-do stuff on, it becomes a toxic stew, and that's where we are right now. So I don't envy the Speaker in the shoes that he is standing, because there's no really perfect way out of this at this point, short of not meeting the deadline on Friday. And so I'm not sure what the path forward for him is. I'm just sure that we conceded too much. He did, I feel like, and some of the ridiculous things that you find in the CR are very troubling. And he promised us we wouldn't do this sort of thing, and yet here we are with. You could call it what you want, but it's not that different from what's happened in prior years.
You're right. I mean, even back when I was covering Capitol Hill as a reporter, I remember many a Christmas Eve where I was sitting around late at night waiting for some kind of omnibus package to be, or a continuing resolution to be passed so everybody could go home. And what they'll do is that they'll run it right up to the day before Christmas sometimes and then say, look, you got to pass this or you can't go home. We have to stay here. And then everybody said, well, I need to get home to Christmas. And so under that kind of pressure, familial pressure from the family, they pass this thing, and then they all scramble home just in time to open packages on Christmas morning. But it's not a new thing. And this is what, this is what people are upset about. Congress, and God bless them, have a 19% approval rating. And this is one of the things that drives people nuts.
This isn't the answer for where we are right now, but I think we were on the right track by trying to do this methodically, through the committee process, as you described earlier. And it's unfortunate that we find ourselves here now at this juncture. We all saw this coming, and we knew we were going to be here, and yet, could never muster the support for doing it in a more methodical way. And so we've kind of made our own bed now, and it's a difficult situation. Nobody wants to see the government shut down. Nobody wants to see the harm that comes from that. But by the same token, what we saw in this CR was no attempt to pay for any of it. No, there was no reckoning that we're on a collision course with history in terms of the borrowing that we're doing. And so I think that that's going to need to be part of the solution. This CR continues the spending that was at the Pelosi level, the Pelosi-Biden level, $60 billion more expensive than the similar appropriations bills that the House passed. And we just can't continue on that path. So there has to be some reckoning. Now, it is a very sticky problem when you can't get the Republican votes, and then you have to rely on Democratic votes. So that's where we put the speaker. And, then he ends up having to accept demands from Hakeem Jeffries and the minority because he's having to rely on them for a substantial number of the votes that it would take to pass something, on short order.
I guarantee you that when we hang up, if I were to ask people to call in and say, are you okay with the government shutting down if it makes the point, 100% of the calls would be in favor of let the government shut down. Let's just let that sucker shut down. So what's so wrong with the idea of just saying, okay, if we can't come to a deal, we'll shut the sucker down? Now, Hakeem Jeffries says, if you do that, we're going to blame you because we had a deal and you walked away from it. So, it becomes the blame game after that. But what's wrong with that idea?
I think the thing that's wrong with it is that it doesn't involve a strategy for how you get to reopening the government and what is the outcome going to be? How are we going to improve the outcome? So, we haven't laid the groundwork, frankly, for what we're going to achieve in a shutdown that's going to make it possible to then pass something that reopens the government. None of that messaging has been planned. None of the negotiations have happened. There just isn't a backdrop for that. And so we would be kind of just driving over the cliff blindly without a plan for how we get back. And so because historically Republicans have been blamed, and we would expect that the press will try to blame us again, not having a strategy for how we use the shutdown to actually achieve the leverage to get to a better answer, I think that's the problem.
A lot of people are upset about a provision in this funding bill that would give Congress a pay raise. Now, Congress hasn't had a technical pay raise since 2009. They've done some things to help people with expenses, but they haven't really gotten a pay raise, and that's in there. And a lot of people say, well, you know what? With an approval rating of 19%, we're not really sure. I mean, if you had an employee who had an approval rating of 19%, you wouldn't give that person a raise. So why should we give Congress a raise?
I think it's a good point, and certainly I'm not out there advocating to get a raise, nor do I think there are many members who are. As with all these things, this ends up being a much more complicated picture because it's been the subject of federal litigation, and there's going to be that the courts have found that our deferring of that raise over the last 14, 15 years was actually unconstitutional, believe it or not. And so that, it gets more complicated. And I know there are many members who think that it's impossible to continue to make ends meet. It is more expensive life to be in Congress. And so I have sympathy for some of those folks. But, the other side of that coin is that members of Congress are paid much better than the average American. And when you add into that the job performance of the institution, it's certainly hard to justify.
If I could for just a moment, I want to take a moment and ask you a question about the looming inauguration and all the preparations that are underway. What's happening in the town right now as we get ready for January 20th next year? What kind of things are you seeing?
Well, there's definitely a mad scramble on by the administration, the outgoing Biden administration, to spend as much money as they can, to sell off as much of the border wall as they can, to do as much mischief as they can, make as many of their policies permanent or hard to get rid of as possible. So that's what's going on, on the administration side. I think that's only counterbalanced by the absenteeism of the president and vice president who have checked out long ago. And so their minions are making those things, trying to make those things happen. And then I think on the Republican side, there's a lot of positive promise and hope for the future, and a lot of planning going on for how we utilize the majorities that the American people have given us to do good for America and to get us back on track. And so I think the good news there is we've been planning for that for a while, and hopefully we'll hit the ground running. We will be able to confirm the president's nominations, people like Pete Hegseth, who I think, are going to be change agents. The new director of the FBI designee that the president has named, you kind of just run down the list of people who are going to bring positive change for America and get the country back on track and end the woke policies, the stuff like men and women's sports and boys and girls locker rooms. I mean, there's just been lunacy happening in Washington. And I think the president is going to come in with clarity and purpose and a team that's ready to go to work on day one and get that stuff done. And so we've got to encourage the Senate to confirm those appointments across the board and give the president the team he needs to put on the field to get the work done that the American people gave him a mandate to do back in November.
Well, and since you are technically my congressman, may I make a constituent request? If I can get there to cover the inauguration, and we're having some conversations about whether I can go and cover the inauguration. You got a closet or a cubby hole where I can work out of so I can report back to the people of Middle Tennessee what's going on that day?
We'll find you a place. I assure you of that, Brian.
All right. Well, I'll be in touch then about that. Thank you very much. And thank you for being available to talk about this delicate issue and this dance that's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. Congressman John Rose of the 6th Congressional District of Tennessee. It is now time for commercial break at 21 minutes past the hour. Hey, listen, we're going to talk about restoration, wellness, and med spa, good people. But before I get into some of the things they want me to talk about, I want to mention that I've been going there for some weight loss. And you know what? No kidding, folks. I'm down just a hair short of 40 pounds. 40 pounds. When I run into people who haven't seen me for a while, they say, "What are you doing? You look great. You look mad. What's the secret?" My secret is the Restoration Wellness Med Spa and their weight loss programs. But they do other things there. They're the leader, for example, in advanced therapy treatments for arthrosis and chronic pain. Chronic pain affects 20% of all adults in the U.S. Chronic pain increases with age, affecting nearly 50% of all adults over the age of 65. So don't let your chronic pain control your life. They've got all kinds of technologies, joint injections, a minimally invasive treatment to relieve pain without needing any surgery. So call the Restoration Wellness team today at this number, 615-470-8124, or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. You're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, who'll take great care of you like you're part of the family. So say goodbye to your chronic pain and get a new lease on life.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about Spice and Easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
All right, that continuing resolution appears to be imploding now that President-elect Trump is weighing in, and we'll tell you what, Tennessee's 6th District Republican Congressman John Rose just said about it on The Drive here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, man, I wish if I wish I had a nickel for every time I've been through this rodeo. This rodeo happens all the time, and it's a game. And it traditionally happens, it seems to me, especially when Democrats are in charge of one body. He's right that the Republicans in the House, they went through the regular process and they went through committee. They came out with their spending bills, and it was the Senate that dragged its feet under the guidance of Chuck Schumer. And so, then what they want to do is, well, golly, here we are last few days before it's time to go home for Christmas. And shoot, we got this problem is if we don't pass some kind of spending bill before you guys leave to go home for Christmas, open up your packages, we're going to have to shut the government down. And that'd be a bad thing. So you have to take this, whether you like it or not. And, the Speaker of the House only has when you have, split bodies where the Democrats are in charge of one and Republicans are in charge of the other. There's only so much you can do. I mean, especially you have a Democrat president, a Democrat-controlled Senate, and you control the House. That's it. And by the way, by a very slim margin. So, there's not a lot he can do in that situation. It's a bad situation for the speaker to be in. But I'm sort of glad that Trump has said, wait a minute. No, don't do this. And when Trump says don't do something, believe me, every Republican in the House will pay attention, and they're going to be on board with not passing a continuing resolution that costs a lot of money. It's just filled with a bunch of porky projects. Pork. Now I'm hungry. But no, I mean, porky projects. And so, the thing about it is that we're going to be right up. How do you solve this problem? How do you fix this problem when you only right now technically control the House of Representatives? So it could be one of those things where it's going to be a showdown. Who will blink first? Will it be the Republicans in the Congress, or will it be the Democrats who don't want, to prolong the pain any longer? It's their last hurrah, last chance to get, these things passed. It's the last train leaving the station before they fall into the minority. So they're trying to get as much out of this thing as they possibly can. And it's up to Republicans to say, no, we're not going to do it. So again, I told the congressman, and I'll tell you again, I have been there many nights on Christmas Eve waiting for Congress to figure out what they're going to do to continue to fund the government before everybody can go home. I mean, while everybody's home, and getting ready for Santa Claus, I was on the Hill hating life, tapping my toe, waiting for some kind of last-minute decision out of the Hill. And they always come up with something, generally it seems. But, I know this. Conservatives would be just fine with shutting down the Congress, shutting down the government. Let's just shut it down. See what happens. Let's shut it down for a while. Shut it down until the new Congress comes in. That would be a long wait, wouldn't it? But it would be interesting. Well, I mean, the new Congress comes in before Inauguration Day, so it wouldn't be that far.
I think we'll survive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need anything from the government right now. Do you?
All good.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good.
Right. Well, I need some Social Security payments because I'm about to retire. but other than that, it's 30 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Time for the news on Super Talk.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in our nation's capital, the chances of a government shutdown have suddenly increased, with the president-elect coming out against that bipartisan short-term spending measure that includes a pay raise for members of Congress. Tennessee 6th District Congressman John Rose telling WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson he can't support the plan. As for whether another deal can be negotiated by Friday's deadline?
Well, I think that's anyone's bet right now. And the question is, how much resolve does the speaker have to kind of honor the conservatives within the Republican Party and the principles that we supposedly stand on?
President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance back a short-term spending measure if it also raises the debt ceiling. TDOT says it's now using community feedback to change the proposed construction of toll lanes it calls choice lanes to ease traffic congestion. Right now, the plan calls for using eminent domain to clear out homes on Joplin Avenue along I-24 in South Nashville. That could change. The next chance for the public to weigh in will be in the spring. And a law firm says a legal precedent has been set in Middle Tennessee over whether hemp is actually marijuana. Channel 4's Lydia Fielder.
2 Tennessee businesses will recover now $735,000 after Spring Hill police illegally took away their legal hemp inventory, according to the firm called Litson that represents these businesses. Back in May, Litson filed a civil rights lawsuit on behalf of an old school vapor and Sack Wholesale in Spring Hill. The suit claims Spring Hill police illegally seized $1.35 million worth of legal hemp products, or over 230 pounds. The suit said the officers were acting partly on District Attorney Brent Cooper's claim that hemp and marijuana are the same thing. Today, an attorney with the firm says the settlement sends a powerful message about protecting legal business interests and highlights the differences between hemp and marijuana. So now the state of Tennessee and the city of Spring Hill will have to compensate these businesses.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, good news, drivers in Glencliff. The accident there, 24 westbound at Briley Parkway South, has been cleared. Looks like we still have a crash, Highway 100, just east of South Harpeth Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, listen, have you ever noticed how unreliable things have become these days? It's irritating, isn't it? Somebody tells you, oh, that thing you want, it'll be ready at 4 p.m., and you get there and it's not ready. People are tired of that kind of stuff. Well, if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, come to URFIX. URFIX has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you're not standing around waiting. URFIX repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead. That's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At URFIX, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So be sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. URFIX, family owned for 24 years. 844-URFIX or visit myurfix.com. That's myurfix.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
There it is, the festive music, the mariachi music. We should have a real mariachi band one of the last shows.
And tacos and enchiladas and margs.
Yeah.
Inchies and margs, as you say, Brother Brian.
Inchies and margies.
Yeah, margies.
Margies. I have some margies and some inchies. You know that is an impression of somebody that used to work with my first wife, and she was a lovely woman, but she was sort of an Edith Bunker kind of person, sort of talked like this all the time. And so, my wife was known for making these great enchiladas at the time, and she would bake up a bunch of them, and she would take in. We'd keep one at the house, and she'd take one to work, and they'd all have them for lunch one day. Yeah. And she said, "Ooh, we're gonna have some inchies today." and whenever I do that, so Dawn says, "Hey, how about going?" Because we both love Mexican food, and there's a good Mexican food restaurant here in town, 2 of them actually. And so I'd say, "Hey, you want to get some Mexican food?" I want to go get an inchies and some margies, and she says, "Don't talk like that." Drives her crazy. But that's where that all came from. Gonna have some inchies.
I bet she used to say. I bet she used to say, "I bet you've got a case of the Mondays."
Yeah.
She was a nice lady, but the way she talked was really funny. All right, so the idea of the Three Amigos is we bring a weird story, we talk about it, and then you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes we don't get through all three. Sometimes we get lost along the way and get diverted. Because, squirrel.
That's right.
That's us. Mm-hmm. And by the way, my story's about squirrels. So should I go first?
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah, that's what we call a segue. All right, so I want you to be aware that, those cute little squirrels. Well, let's talk about squirrels, first of all. What are squirrels? Really, they're just... They're rats with better public relations. I mean, they were honestly
fluffy tail.
They're rats with a really fluffy tail, but they're basically at their core they're rats, aren't they? But most people think squirrels are cute, and we love to feed the squirrels, and we got to give them some nuts and some seeds to get them through the winter, and everybody wants to feed the squirrels, right? Well, in California, beware of the killer squirrels.
Ooh.
That's
Whoa.
right.
Dun,
yeah,
dun,
this is unbelievable. I should do that, Beware of the killer squirrels. Evolution, they say, works in mysterious ways. Sometimes it creates specialized carnivores with sharp teeth and claws. Other times, it turns seemingly peaceful plant eaters into opportunistic hunters. Scientists have just documented the latter, discovering that California ground squirrels, those supposedly harmless seed gatherers, have developed a taste for meat and the skills to obtain it. They become predator squirrels, killer squirrels. In the eye-opening study, researchers observed the squirrels actively hunting and eating other mammals. Specifically, their favorite dish is California voles, which I guess is sort of like a mole. I don't know, a vole. It marks the first evidence that these supposedly vegetarian animals regularly engage in predatory behavior. This was shocking, said lead author Jennifer E. Smith, an associate professor of biology at University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. In a statement, Smith leads the long-term, apparently this, here you go, who knew there was this? A long-term ground squirrel project with Sonia Wild of the University of California of Davis. We've never seen this behavior before. Squirrels are one of the most familiar animals to people. We see them right outside our windows. We interact with them regularly. We've never seen anything like this before. However, for decades, scientists have been studying the population of California ground squirrels. But in 2024, the 12th year of the long-term study of ground squirrels, I think, do we really need to study ground squirrels for 12 years?
No.
Something remarkable happened. The researchers observed 74 separate instances of the squirrels actively hunting, killing, and consuming adult voles.
Those are little like mice, really.
Mice, yeah. Even the researchers were initially skeptical of what they've seen. They sent out the undergraduate students, to watch the squirrels, and they came back and said, "You're not going to believe this, but they're eating voles." They said, "No, they're not." Yeah, you misunderstood. That's got to be wrong. And they started looking at the video and said, "I'll be damned, they're eating the squirrels. The squirrels are eating the mice." I could barely believe my eyes, said Wild. From then, we saw that behavior almost every day.
Wow.
So once we started looking, we saw it everywhere. So, you think they're cute, you think they're fluffy, but they could be killers in your backyard.
They're just gearing up for the takeover. They're going to start attacking humans next.
That's right. First the voles. First they came for the voles, and we did nothing.
I was getting ready to say, folks in Knoxville better run.
No, not the voles. Voles.
No, they're eating football players? What's that all about?
Tasty football.
All right, so anyway, I think that's pretty bizarre. Who would have guessed
very bizarre.
That squirrels had become killer squirrels?
I've seen something, though.
Excuse me, I got to do that. Killer squirrels.
I've seen, I want to say it's pigeons somewhere, that pigeons were eating meat of some kind. Like, they'll just eat anything. I don't know if that's got anything to do with, if they're killing things or if they're just opportunistic and, taking advantage when they see something that's dead or whatever. But
yeah. I mean, I always wondered how it was that animals knew, for example, when the cicadas come only 17 years apart. They come only 7. How do they know that these are good to eat? How do they know that?
Well, they're crawling around, I guess.
Because everything, including my French bulldog, was consuming the cicadas this last summer.
Yeah, some dogs got really sick eating those things too, man.
Grogu, they didn't settle well with her. Not at all.
Buzz all the way down.
We didn't really we didn't know it was a problem for a couple of days. Let's put it that way.
Gross. All right, well, I've got a story. This one is just bizarre. This one comes from China, and it's about AI robots.
Okay.
So this happened back in August at a robotics company showroom in Shanghai, and it's a video. It was captured by the surveillance of the company there, and it shows a small robot making its way into the showroom of this robotics company at night and rolling over to a bunch of larger robots that were at this company's showroom and engaging in a dialogue with them. And the dialogue, this is just bizarre. The dialogue went something like this. "Are you working overtime?" the small robot asked the large robots. The robots replied, "I never get off work." "So you're not going home?" "I don't have a home." The little robot then says, "Then come home with me," and then starts leading the robots out of the showroom and utters the command, "Go home." And 10 robots in this venue start to follow him out the door.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
This small robot was not a robot from this robotics company. It was from another company. And a lot of people thought this was just staged and it was a bunch of BS. But the robotics company came out and admitted that its robots had indeed been kidnapped by a robot created by another company.
Wow.
Now, to be totally clear, this was all set up. They knew it was going to happen. The robotics companies were working together in this, but this experiment was a legitimate experiment that showed that robots...
So one robot coming to find out if they could actually have some kind of persuasion over the other robots.
That's right.
That was the test?
Yeah.
And it worked?
They confirmed the little robot featured in the video was one of the models called Airby by a company named Hangzhou Robot Manufacturing, and that the kidnapping was real, but that and somehow was able to access the internal operating protocol of the other company's robots and its permissions. And they basically said that they thought it was almost impossible for a robot of one manufacturer to conversate with another robot built by someone else, but it did it. And they're essentially saying that that this kind of is a little scary, that robots can be convinced to do things that another robot told them that they're not supposed to do.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I mean, they were just hanging out in this showroom. It was in the middle of the night, apparently. Little robot kind of rolls in and says, "Hey, why don't you come home with me?" And they did.
Oh, man. Be afraid.
Yeah.
Be very afraid.
Right, you think the killer squirrels are scary.
Yeah, I mean, there's two scary stories here. That's amazing.
Did they actually have a home to go to?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know what happened after they all started following it. I'm assuming that that they intervened at some point. Some humans did and came in and said, "Okay, the experiment worked. Scary
Shut
and
it down,
scary
yeah.
enough. Let's shut this down. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
get back to
bizarre.
studying squirrels. Goodness.
Yeah, that is really, really scary. And you know, they keep telling us the robots are going to take over.
Yep.
You know, everybody says that, and Elon Musk is actually afraid of AI. He's very afraid of it.
And that's scary that someone like Elon Musk would be afraid of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what you got, Ken?
All right, let's be adults with this one, boys.
Uh-oh.
We're going to be
No
adults.
chance.
This is from the New York Post. A man's member turns to bone.
Ooh.
Doctors want to use shock waves to break it down.
No.
A man's routine visit to the doctor turned into a nightmare after physicians discovered that his member was turning to bone. It's detailed in a story in Urology Case Reports. The unnamed patient, who was in his 60s, had reported to the doctor's office for a trauma of the knee, per the study. During the visit, he also said, "I've got some pain here."
Why don't you take a look at this?
Upon examination, physicians didn't find any swelling, any unusual fluids, or markers of agony, so they conducted an X-ray. The images revealed a, quote, hard truth.
Oh, they took some liberties with that.
The patient had extensive plaque-like calcification all along it. They diagnosed the poor soul with penile ossification, which is calcium salts amassing in the organ's tissues, forming bone. With this diagnosis, the patient becomes just one of 40 to ever be diagnosed with the condition.
Thank goodness it's rare.
Yeah, man.
Yes, it is.
I don't want that near me.
The doctors offered several types of treatment. That includes topical medicines, injections, or painkillers that, you can take with a glass of water. Then they said the condition can also be treated through shockwave therapy. And according to this report, the man got up and left.
It's like, no, thank you.
That's like that old joke. Is that what is it? Penile calcification, or are you just glad to see me?
Oh, no.
So, wow. Yeah. Apparently there's, they really don't know the cause for it,
Well, they better figure it out, man, because I want a cure for this thing.
Fortunately.
Yeah. And his wife said, "There's a problem here?" All right.
I thought he was
and on that cheery note, we better stop.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
sir.
51 minutes past the hour. Well, if you've got some calcification or any other kind of problem, maybe you want to call the good folks at Grace Point Healthcare. They provide affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. Known for their basic smart care plans, just $69 a month includes free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostic tests. At Grace Point, you're usually seen the same day or the next day, and there's no long wait times in the waiting rooms. And Grace Point is your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborns to seniors. When you get to be a certain age, your hormones begin to fluctuate, taking a toll on your lifestyle. Grace Point provides comprehensive hormone testing and treatment for both men and women. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. So call this number, 615-599-6868, to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Well, the chances of a government shutdown this weekend have suddenly increased. We'll tell you all about it coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
57 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. You're listening to The Drive, and it got a little, I guess, R-rated there for a moment. Our apologies if there were tender ears.
I think we masked it.
No, I don't think we did at all. Mommy?
Probably about
What
as
is
good as
he
that guy
talking
masked his
about?
problem.
I'm sorry. Ken Weaver will be soundly restricted from ever doing a story like that again. MSNBC has a broadcaster by the name of Stephanie Rule, and she's doing a little interview at this event, and so the election, of course, what happened, what happened to Democrats, what's going on. And one of the things she said, now she doesn't like Trump at all. You'd be pretty sure working over MSNBC, but she said, here's the difference. She said, if I wanted to try to reach Biden or Kamala Harris and do an interview, it's impossible. But if I wanted to talk to Trump, I just dial his number.
And I wasn't calling to chit-chat. I said, Mr. President, this is Stephanie Rule. You made a lot of comments last night, blah, 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 blah. And it was not an on-the-record conversation. Long story, so I'm not going to get into what he said. But I called for one reason. I said, you just said a whole bunch of public things. I'd like to sit down for an interview with you. We got 5 days before the election. So we didn't get into anything. There's nothing for me to report. I called him and said, I want an interview with you. Obviously, he said no. But my point is... Yeah. I was able to get to him by dialing his phone. But the reverse of that, if I were to want to connect with VP Harris or President Biden, there's 50 people between me and that. I could write a note that maybe could get to somebody, then through Pony Express and a pigeon, something might end up in a mailbox near them. And I called DJT to say, yo, can I have an interview? He told me to go fuck myself, but I still was able to connect with him.
Yeah.
But he still picked up.
He picked up the phone. It's apparently if you got the number, he'll take the call. It's 59 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're going to be talking again about the chaotic situation on Capitol Hill and also what the heck is going on with these drones. But right after the news with Ken Weaver at the top of the hour, you're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And the chances of a government shutdown this weekend have suddenly increased with the president-elect coming out against that short-term spending measure, the subject of bipartisan negotiation.
In a joint statement, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance blast the bipartisan compromise, saying it contains sweetheart provisions and Democrat giveaways and would see members of Congress getting a pay increase. Trump and Vance say Republicans should only back a short-term spending measure if it also raises the debt ceiling now rather than on their watch next year.
Tennessee 6th District Congressman John Rose telling WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson he's a no vote on this and tells whether a new deal can be negotiated before Friday's deadline.
Well, I think that's anyone's bet right now, and the question is, how much resolve does the speaker have to kind of honor the conservatives within the Republican Party and the principles that we supposedly stand on?
Right now in Middle Tennessee, a law firm says the Spring Hill Police Department has been ordered to pay $750,000 for illegally seizing local businesses' hemp products because they were ordered to by the district attorney who said there is no difference between hemp and marijuana. Channel 4 says police took the product from Old School Vapor and Sack Wholesale in Columbia. Alex Little is the attorney on the case and says this settlement is more than a financial recovery. It's a critical statement about law enforcement's responsibility to understand and respect the law. He says hemp is a legal agricultural product and businesses should not live in fear of arbitrary seizures based on ignorance. U.S. stocks taking a nosedive today, with the Dow Jones closing more than 1,000 points lower after the Federal Reserve announced it will cut interest rates for the third time since September, this time by a quarter point. Here's Elizabeth Schulze on investor reaction.
Both for investors on Wall Street and for households and businesses that are borrowing money, you might see a little bit higher borrowing costs now for longer. The Fed wants to wait and see what the economic data looks like. They're not going to be as aggressively lowering interest rates as they have over the past couple of meetings. Investors not taking a lot of comfort in that news. They see a little bit concerned that the Fed maybe is a little bit more worried about inflation.
Now, the Supreme Court says it will hear TikTok's case against that law requiring the app be sold by January 19th. The law says if the extremely popular app is not, it would be banned in the U.S. Oral argument set for Friday, January 10th, 9 days before that ban is to take effect. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, for right now, I'm not seeing any crashes on the interstates, but it is still just heavy volume, the heaviest bumper to bumper for a while there. East Loop, eastbound downtown. 431 north and southbound is really backed up there, bumper to bumper, both directions there in Green Hills. And then once you get out of downtown, eastbound 24, you're brake tapping all the way down to Bell Road, which is pretty much normal this time of day. 65 southbound, starting in Brentwood, is pretty slow all the way down to Moore's Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Good evening. Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy on this 18th day of December. We're just a few days away from Christmas. You just got a few days left. Let's see, what, 7 days? 7 days now to do your shopping? Is my math correct on that? Yes.
Well, 6 days to do shopping, I guess.
Yeah, 6 days to do shopping because the 7th day is Christmas. That's right. You know, it'd be a little late then. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll count.
I guess
yeah.
I got to get on it.
Still haven't done that, have you?
No, I haven't. I've been busy.
Yeah.
I've been busy. You know, when the missus doesn't get a Christmas present on Christmas Eve, she's gonna say, why don't I have a Christmas present on Christmas Eve? Because you've been making me busy.
Yeah, you just see how that holds up.
Yeah, it won't work. I want to talk about those crazy drones. You know, there comes one there. It sounds a lot like those scooters we used to have. We still do have, I guess. Yeah, listen, what are those things up in the sky? It is captivating Americans. It's freaking a lot of people out. And I'm going to give you my sense of it based on stuff that I've read and stuff that just sort of makes sense to me. My take on it is this. A lot of it is nothing to be worried about. A lot of it is a little bit of this. We got a story about drones. Hey, I have a drone. I think I'll launch my drone tomorrow night and see if I can take pictures of those other drones. I think that's part of it. There are 1 million drone owners in America, and I'm one of them. I have a drone. I'm a little afraid to fly it right now because I think if you fly it over Watertown, somebody's going to shoot it down. But I do have a drone, and I use it I'm a hobbyist. And there are a lot of hobbyist drones in America. So I think that some of the things that people are seeing are hobbyist drones because a lot of them are up there. I mean, it's sort of, you start talking about drones, said, I haven't flown my drone in a while. I think I'll get it out and fly it tonight. I think that's part of it. So that's part of it. Part of it is that I think that if you're watching military installations, I think that the military has drones that are designed to take out other drones, countermeasure drones. And I think that's part of it. And I think that some people who not particularly don't look at the sky all that much, or all of a sudden now they're out scanning the heavens in the evening and they're seeing things and they're thinking, well, look, there's a drone. And it turns out to be a helicopter. Oh, look, there's a drone. It turns out to be somebody on their way to Chicago O'Hare. That it's that kind of thing. And people think that they're seeing drones when really they're not drones. Some of them, but I think at its core, I don't think it's all a bunch of what. I don't think it's a bunch of hooey. I think there are legitimate concerns about drone incursions. It's just that now everybody is all hinked up about the thing, and everything they see in the sky they think is a drone, and it gets reported, and there is a little bit of mayhem surrounding it. But at its core, it's hard to deny that something is going on. I think this story gets it right. I found it in the Washington Examiner, written by a guy named Tom Rogan. What's going on? For one, massive public attention and media interest are fueling some false reporting. People seek participation in seemingly extraordinary events. They want to be part of the fun. That means stars are reported as drones so folks can tell their friends, I saw one. Flight tracking evidence and analysis by aeronautical experts also suggest that a majority of these reports pertain to hobbyist drones, aircraft misidentified as drones, or misidentified meteorological or astronomical phenomena. But there remains a problem that the federal government appears both incompetent and deceptive about the origin, intent, and possible threat of drones that continue to fly without identification of their type, intent, or operator. This is leading to conspiracy theories such as that the government is using drones to search for hidden nuclear or radiological weapons. This is highly unlikely, not so much because it's infeasible, but because of the absence of certain other government efforts which we would see in the situation of a nuclear radiological weapon scare. Government incompetence is an undeniable complicating factor. Consider that the Pentagon's UFO research arm, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, recently referred to a drone that crashed near a Michigan nuclear power plant and said that it had no further information about the drone. This kind of language risks public concern that perhaps the government is hiding information. So there's all that. But there, until recently, the White House says there's no credible reports of drone incursions near military bases. That, however, is not true. It happens all the time. In a statement on Monday, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and Department of Defense released a statement saying, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and stars mistakenly reported as drones. We have not identified anything anomalous and do not assess the activity to date to present a national security or public safety risk. Yet, considering that the drone sightings have been reported over military bases in New Jersey and elsewhere, government claims that they do not constitute a credible threat are disingenuous. An unknown drone operated by unknown persons with unknown intent over a military base is a prima facie threat. The Chinese intelligence services are engaged in rapacious spying on U.S. soil. Chinese operatives have launched drones both from U.S. territory and from international waters. These efforts have included repeated drone operations within U.S. military-controlled airspace. It has happened. Chinese spy platforms have wrongly been identified as unidentified flying objects, and that has been the focus of FBI investigations. Listen to this. I told you about this many times. Drone incursions at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia in 2023 were probably Chinese intelligence efforts to gather radar and electronic signature data on F-22 fighter jets based there. Recent drone incursions at a U.S. Air Force base in the United Kingdom were likely the result of Russian intelligence activities. As exclusively reported by the Washington Examiner, British authorities were so concerned with these incursions that they deployed special forces to the base. Even if the scale and geographic spread of drone reports is unprecedented, unexplained drones are nothing new. Remember, between 2019 and 2020, Colorado saw numerous unexplained drone reports that led to inconclusive FBI investigation. The question remains, who is flying these drones and why? We don't know. That's exactly the problem, isn't it? You don't have a lot of confidence in government when government tells you, nothing to see here. You're just imagining all this. Well, some of it, maybe, it is a little bit of the hysteria that surrounds something like this. Everybody looks up and think they're seeing a drone. People who are not perhaps adept at looking at the nighttime sky for the first time, or paying attention to what's going on, think they're seeing drones. And maybe they are seeing drones, and maybe many of them are hobbyist drones. There's a lot of drones out there, 1 million of them. In America, hobbyist drones, 1 million. That's right, 1 million. But that does not mean that some of the drone reports are concerning. And it does not mean that perhaps we need to stop and have a conversation about how drones are used. I mean, even if these are adversaries on the world stage, probing and poking and probing to see how far they can get, what kind of response we have, monitor communications over military bases, see what happens when they fly right up to the edge of the fence line. What are you going to do? Some people have said that, that whoever's doing this the Chinese found a sort of a seam. So, you fly over a military base and then just sort of put your toe right across the line and then hustle back to non-military land. Well, then the military no longer has authority once it's outside of its own little footprint. If they're inside that footprint, they have the authority to do it. But if once they get back outside into non-military territory, nobody has the authority to shoot it down. Isn't that sort of a catch-22? I'm worried about this. Drones are going to be a part of what we do going forward. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be a part of delivery systems at Amazon. I mean, there's going to come a time of day where you go on your phone and you tap and you say, I need this from Amazon. And 20 minutes later, a drone will land on your front yard and deliver it. That is going to happen. That will happen. In fact, it's happening already in some parts of the country. They've been running these test programs in sort of remote areas. Sending, for example, if you live out in the country and you need prescriptions very quickly, they will send a drone out to your ranch or your farm in the country and land it on your front yard in about half an hour. I mean, and that's a perfect use for these technologies. But we're going to see that kind of stuff. It's happening more and more and more and more. But what's to say that drones could not be weaponized? What's to say that, somebody like we've seen in a military, situation, in a military war zone, like in Ukraine, the Russians are using drones against the Ukrainians. Suicide drones, basically. We fly them over here and we blow them up. What's to stop that from happening? And how do you deal with that? I mean, imagine that, it's January 20th and you're there up on Capitol Hill watching the inauguration. Somewhere between a half and a full million people are going to be, on the mall there, and all of a sudden a drone appears on the horizon and nobody knows how to stop it. Do you think that won't cause a little bit of a panic and concern? Sure would. It absolutely would. So, I think we need to think about this in a very, a very serious way. What do we do about drone technology, and how do we protect it, and how do we make sure that we can take out the drones that might provide some kind of military threat, who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing over installations? How do we fix that problem? The military sent out an email, apparently. The Air Force said, hey, look, if you catch one of these things, this is no kidding. Another senior official said the Pentagon had been too passive in the face of the growing threat. The official offered a solution to an unidentified drone. Zap it, put it in a bag, and then we'll look in to figure out who it belonged to. We'll look for clues about its origin and its intent. So, they're trying to capture them, but it's been sort of a daunting process. So just sort of to bring this thing full circle, what do I truly believe? Yes, there are drones that are making incursions into sensitive areas where we have infrastructure and military bases and presidential homes, and they've been poking and prodding to see exactly, what our responses would be in certain situations. So far, no malintent other than that they're poking and prodding, and they shouldn't be over sensitive military installations. But are they a threat to people? Now, they're a national security threat, but I don't think they're actually a threat to people. People are not endangered when a drone does that. Their lives are not at risk. So, yeah, something's going on, and I believe that those are our adversaries on the world stage. But a lot of the hysteria and a lot of things that people are talking about are something else. Hobbyist drones, helicopters, things in the sky. So here, let me just give you one little piece of advice. Don't try to shoot one down. I know everybody says, well, that drone shows up over my house, I'm gonna get my double-barrel shotgun. I'm gonna get that thing, and it would be fun to shoot down a drone. But you need to know that if somebody is operating a drone in a lawful manner, by the way, no expectation of privacy. You may own your property, but you don't own the land, the airspace above it. Did you know that? I mean, would you shoot down a 747 that happened to cross over your property? No. And you can't shoot down a drone because the FAA considers them actual aircraft. The federal folks will be coming to your door in a big hurry if you shoot a drone down. I mean, that's true. It is an aircraft that is regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration. So don't shoot one down. And the other thing I would say is don't point a laser at it, because a lot of people are pointing lasers at what they think are drones. Turns out they're manned aircraft. It blinds the pilots. It's a serious thing. You shoot a plane with a laser and you're going to get visited real quick. They will identify where it came from and they'll be coming knocking on your door. So don't do that. Don't do that. In the meantime, a lot more questions than we have answers. Do I think the drones are real? Yes. Do I think all the drones are real? No, they're not anything to be concerned about. But somewhere in the middle of all that are some great questions that we need to be working out and answers that we need to find. 22 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Costco has this item that they keep running out of, gold bars. They can't keep them in stock. Gold's breathtaking surge this year to repeated record highs hasn't stopped bullion from flying off the shelves. Gold is not only one of the best performing commodities, it outperforms other assets, have been like stocks and bonds. Did you see the market today? I mean, you kind of wish you had some gold today. The surge has been driven by its appeal as a safe haven asset in times of geopolitical and economic uncertainty. You know where you can get gold? when Costco doesn't have any? From my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They sell the same high-quality products as Costco and other national online retailers. They will not overcharge you, and as a bonus, you'll be supporting a locally owned business. Kyle and Hannah, true experts, and you can count on top-of-the-line personalized customer service. Nashville Golden Coin is the best place to buy gold in Middle Tennessee. You'll be dealing with experts instead of some random store clerk with zero knowledge about precious metals. So make an appointment today with Nashville Golden Coin. That's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
President-elect Trump demanding Republicans renegotiate a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. We'll tell you why coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And I'll do a deep dive into that after the news there, I promise you. This is fun, sort of funny. It's been fun, but it raises some serious questions. Donald Trump, president-elect, on Wednesday, questioned why the United States provides Canada with subsidies. Let's just stop and think about that for a moment. We provide subsidies to Canada. Canada. I mean, even it's like, well, we give money to other countries around the world, but why are we giving money to Canada? Canada doesn't need our money. Why are we doing that? You know how much money? $100 million a year in subsidies, says Trump. No one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of over $100 million a year. Makes no sense. Many Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. First of all, there are some Canadians who are going, that's outrageous. What is he talking about? But you know what? There are a lot of people in Canada who really love Americans. And I found this out in my summer trip to Calgary. I'd never been to Canada before. I don't know how that happened, but I'd never been. And we spent a lot of time driving through Canada and talking to Canadians. And, you know, at one point I reached out to pay for something, and I said, all I have are American dollars. I'm sorry. He says, we'll take that American money. We love American money. They do. Didn't bat an eye. Anyway, Trump goes on, they would save massively on taxes and military protection. Think about that. They would save on taxes and military protection. I think it's a great idea. Let's make Canada the 51st state. He's needling Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, over the last few days following the shock resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. It's put Trudeau's government in turmoil. And many people, I don't understand Canadian politics at all, but apparently it's a real problem for him, and many people are thinking he may not survive it. The great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns or was fired from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. Not Prime Minister, Governor. The great state of Canada, making Canada great again. Donald Trump wants to make Canada part of what we're doing here. It's serious. I think part of the problem is that this finance minister got fired because she was not in agreement with Justin Trudeau as to how we handle Trump, who wants to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. I think that's part of what was going on there. Hard to know exactly what was going on behind the scenes there. But Trump is having a lot of fun with the Canadians at Justin Trudeau's expense. It's 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news with Ken Weaver.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President-elect Trump demanding Republicans renegotiate a spending bill that would avoid a government shutdown, citing how the current one includes pay raises for Congress at a time when so many Americans, he says, are struggling financially. Tennessee 6th District Congressman John Rose agrees and tells WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson.
I don't envy the speaker in the shoes that he is standing, because there's no really perfect way out of this at this point, short of not meeting the deadline on Friday.
All but one case of bird flu in humans in the U.S. have been mild, but the first severe case, according to health officials, has been found in Louisiana. The person over the age of 65 and has underlying medical conditions. The patient now has severe respiratory illness. California declaring a state of emergency over bird flu. It has the most cases of bird flu of any state. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks plummeted after the Federal Reserve announced another 1/4 point interest rate cut, but signaled that policymakers will cut rates just twice in 2025, down from their last estimate of 4 rate cuts. The Dow lost 1,123 points. The S&P tumbled 178. The Nasdaq dropped 716 points, or 3.5%. It is the Dow's first 10-day losing streak in 50 years. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments over the constitutionality of the federal law that could ban TikTok in the U.S. if its Chinese parent company does not sell. Safety regulators are no longer seeking a recall of nearly 50 million airbag inflators because the auto industry questioned if every single one is defective. Instead, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration will investigate the inflators made by ARC Automotive.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. I'm not seeing any crashes on the major interstates right now. It's just volume slowing things down. Eastbound 24 in the usual places, all the way down to Harding Place before it gets back up to speed. Looking over here on Briley Parkway, looks like there is an off-ramp backup, probably to do with Christmas at Opry Mills. That northbound exit ramp there to Opry Mills off Briley Parkway is backed up. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
37 minutes here past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening on this December 18th. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive. We're going to drive you crazy for just a few more minutes, then we're going to hand it over to Mark Levin. Okay? Listen, there is a hoo-ha thing happening on Capitol Hill. There's a thing happening. So it's the end of the year. Friday, they're supposed to go home and start doing, Christmas with the family. Go back home for Christmas. They all want to leave on Thursday or Friday. And there's going to be a vote tonight on a continuing resolution to fund the government going forward to about April, March, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly when, but into the early part of next year. And, as is generally the case, the Democrats have larded the things up with a bunch of porky fat, and they're saying, take it or leave it. This is what we want. And the Speaker of the House has little power right now, because think about it for just a moment. The Democrats currently control the Senate and the White House, and the Speaker of the House controls a very narrow majority in the House of Representatives. And so it's one of those things where you go, well, how much influence can you have over this situation? So he said, look, not the Republicans, there'll be a lot of Republicans can't vote for this, but a few Republicans will vote for this continuing resolution to fund the government, even though it's got pork in it. And by the way, a pay raise for Congress, a real pay raise. First time since 2009 they've given themselves a raise, but it's in there, and it's not popular. And he says, let's do this, and then next year, when we're in control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, will do things differently. And it was going to go through with some Republican support and a lot of Democrat support, and everybody was going to go home to Christmas. Until Donald J. Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk said, no, we're not going to have it. And Trump said, do not vote for this. Well, right now, the man who has all the juice in the Republican Party is Donald J. Trump. And when he says don't do something, everybody stands up and salutes on the Republican side of the equation. So it became very evident today to the Speaker of the House that this thing was going to fall apart, that he wasn't going to have the votes to get the larded up, porky, continuing resolution passed. So what are they going to do? Because if they don't pass something Friday, the government closes down. Don't know, but it's going to be interesting to watch in the next few days. That's where we are right now. The word coming out of Capitol Hill tonight is that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is going to pull the continuing resolution bill, and he's considering a plan B. The folks over at the Hill cover the Hill pretty well, so let's see what they have to say. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, looking for a plan B to fund the government ahead of Friday's shutdown deadline as Republicans inside and outside the Capitol, including President-elect Trump and his allies, slam his spending package. The backup option Johnson is examining is a clean, continuing resolution, two sources familiar with the matter told the Hill. That would entail dropping the additional provisions that were included in the initial 1,500-page spending package negotiated by congressional leaders, including disaster aid and economic assistance for farmers. Late in the afternoon, Trump and Vice President-elect Vance waded into the fray, slamming the bipartisan bill negotiated by Johnson and calling for a streamlined spending stopgap combined with an increase in the debt ceiling. Increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. If Democrats won't cooperate on the debt ceiling now, what makes anyone think they would do it in June during our administration, the two said in a statement. Let's have this debate now, and we should pass a streamlined spending bill that doesn't give Chuck Schumer and the Democrats everything they want. They added, Republicans want to support our farmers, pay for disaster relief, and set our country up for success in 2025. The only way to do that is with a temporary funding bill without Democrat giveaways. Combined with an increase in the debt ceiling, anything else is a betrayal of our country, said Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, the statement did not make clear what Trump and Vance wanted to do with disaster aid and assistance for farmers that had been proposed in the package. The Speaker's office declined to comment on a potential Plan B when reached by the Hill. So there you have it. Musk, who has spent considerable time with Trump since the election, wrote on X, "Any lawmaker who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years." It remains unclear if Johnson will ultimately pull this spending package, although in the last few minutes, some indication that will be happening. The Speaker is not yet scheduled a vote on the stopgap. Switching would win a mark for hardline conservatives who railed against the stopgap for its sprawling nature. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, told reporters Wednesday it's not a CR, which is a continuation of the budget. It's turning into an omnibus. It's a Christmas tree, is what you say this time of year. Big Christmas tree larded up with all kinds of different decorations for the Democrats. If Johnson does pull the negotiated spending package, however, an alternative is not guaranteed to clear the lower chamber. Democrats are balking at the alternative plan because they secured a number of victories in the initial package, including things like federal funding for the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Balmerhun. They didn't say Hun. That's what they say in Baltimore. Welcome to Balmerhun. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt the working class. You break the bipartisan agreement, you own the consequences that follow, say House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in a statement. Given the negotiations that have taken place, I don't think that would be agreeable to a good number of the Democrat caucus, perhaps the majority, said Representative Chuy Garcia, Democrat of Illinois. So there you have it. That's where we are right now. A standoff of epic proportions is now underway. Look, here's the thing. Everybody says, well, we don't want to shut down the government. Nobody wants to shut down the government. Shutting down the government would be a bad thing. Okay, so let's think about this. Here it is, December 18th. The government is funding for a few more days. So you got until like Thursday, Friday. That would be the 19th, the 20th. That's right. Friday's the 20th. And then you got everybody going off to Christmas vacation. A lot of government offices will be closed around Christmas anyway. And you got the new Congress coming back in the new year. The new Congress will be Republican House, Republican Senate. Now, they won't have a White House for a while, but that White House will be coming. And the situation changes. I mean, so if you hold off until the new Congress is formed, and you immediately try to do a clean resolution that gets the government back open after the holidays, I mean, is anybody really going to miss the government between that week between Christmas and New Year? Well, anybody? I mean, the budget is going to cover. I mean, they won't shut down national security things. Social Security checks will still go out. There's a whole lot of things that will happen and a few things that won't. I mean, okay, you might not be able to get into a national park. Oh, well, sorry for all of you who had planned to go to the national park in the dead of winter. I mean, come on. So there's some things that, that won't happen, but the vast majority of the government will be open. The Democrats will make a lot of hay, but the new Congress comes back in. It's a new Senate controlled by Republicans, a new House Republican controlled. And you'll still have Joe Biden until the 20th of January. But if the House and Senate pass a new measure in the new Congress and send it to Joe Biden and he vetoes it, it's on him. Right? I don't know. Wait it out. If you can't get a deal, wait it out. So it's really going to be something to watch. And I wish I had a nickel for every time I'd done this. All the years I covered, probably more than anything I did in Washington, I covered Capitol Hill. For the first 6 years I was in Washington, I was a Hill correspondent. And for the first few years of being at Capitol Hill, first I covered the White House, and then I went to Capitol Hill. I covered it for Fox News. And there have been many a holiday where I've been sitting on Capitol Hill waiting for the Congress to figure out how they were going to pass some bill that keeps the government funded so they can all go home for the new year. And it's funny. It's funny how they always find a solution late on Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve. They find a solution because everybody wants to go home. So it'll probably happen again. I salute Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for calling him out and saying, no, this is a bad idea. Let's set the table for what we're going to do when we take over. Let's stand our ground and see how far we can go with it. It's hard to stand your ground when you have one half of one body of government. They got half of the House of Representatives right now, a little more than half. But let's see what happens. Let's see if we can push that and whether the Democrats will blink. I mean, after all, the American people have spoken on this. They want to cut spending. They elected a man who said he's going to come in and cut trillions of dollars from the federal budget. Democrats, on the other hand, understand this is our last chance. This is the last train leaving the station before the Republicans take over. If we don't get all of our fat and lard now, we're never going to get our fat and lard, or it's going to be a long time before we get our fat and lard because we don't have any control. So it's a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? Will it be the Republicans or will it be the Democrats? I love that chicken. He's an angry chicken. He's an angry little chicken.
Him and that duck should get together.
You mean the duck? Well, that's part of the problem. It's a lame duck Congress. So you got the lame duck Congress playing a game of chicken. You see what I did there?
Yeah, no wonder they can't get anything done, man. They're confused.
A bunch of bird brains up there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what it is. This is fascinating. I mean, this is the big game that gets played. High stakes poker is what this is. Who's going to blink first? Who's going to bluff and who's going to blink first? I don't know, but I do know this: the American people do not want to see a bunch of lard being spent. A lot of money being spent. Now, there are some things in there that need to be done. I mean, we need to try to help these people. We need to build some roads that got washed out during the hurricanes. There's some things that need to be funded. There's no doubt about that. But, okay, we fund them now or we fund them 2 weeks from now? They'll get funded. And I think it's time to just, go ahead and hold your ground. And if the government gets shut down, then so be it. So be it. We'll all survive to live another day. Nobody's going to lose any food. Nobody's going to starve. The world will keep turning on its axis and circling the sun. Nothing will change. It'll just take a little while to get the money put together for some things that need to be done. A few weeks. I think it's worth the gamble. Let's see who wins. We'll be watching this closely tomorrow and on Friday to see how it all unfolds here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Hey, we have big news from the folks at DT McCall. If you've been thinking about buying a gun safe but putting it off, now's the time. Gun safes are sales tax free. That's right, sales tax free. It's hunting season, so be sure to keep your gun safe when you're not in the tree stand with the Liberty Gun Safe from DT McCall. DT McCall's is the largest Liberty Safe dealer in all of Tennessee. And why is that? Well, free delivery and setup. Others charge $500 at least for delivery and setup of the big models, $300 for the smaller models. At DT McCall & Sons, delivery of safes is free every time, period. Never a setup charge. Security is important these days, and a Liberty Gun Safe from DT McCall can be used for valuables, cash, jewelry, important documents, wills, deeds, car titles, whatever you need to keep safe from theft or fire. So save some big bucks now on your Liberty Gun Safe when you shop at your local DT McCall's. Just go to dtmccalls.com for locations and information.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
You know, the other day there was this thing that came out. If you have an iPhone, for example, you shouldn't text people who have Android phones, and if you have an Android phone, you shouldn't text people who have, iPhones. That you could text within your own system and it would be okay, but they said you shouldn't text cross platforms. And I thought, well, that's very strange. What is that? They said there was a security glitch that had not been figured out yet, and that for a short while, you really shouldn't do that. I wonder if it has anything to do with this next story. The U.S. government tells officials and politicians to ditch their regular call and texts. From Reuters. U.S. government is urging senior government officials and politicians to ditch phone calls and text messages following intrusions at major American telecommunication companies blamed on Chinese hackers. In written guidance released on Wednesday, that's today, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency said at CISA, the individuals who are in senior government or senior political positions should immediately review and apply a series of best practices around the use of mobile devices. He said the first recommendation, use only end-to-end encrypted communication. Same thing they said the other day about people who were trying to text cross-platform. End-to-end encryption, a data protection technique which aims to make data unreadable by everyone except its sender and recipients, is baked into various chat apps, including Meta platforms, WhatsApp, Apple iMessage, and the privacy-focused Signal. App Signal, I don't know about that one. Corporate offerings which allow end-to-end encryption will also include Microsoft's Teams and Zoom communications online meetings. Neither regular phone calls nor text messages are end-to-end encrypted, which means they can be monitored either by the telephone companies, law enforcement, or potentially hackers who've broken into the system. What, hackers who've broken into the system? You mean Chinese hackers?
China has, in fact, hacked into our telecommunications providers, some of them. And the extent of it is quite serious. And I should say that in response to that, we have taken action. We in the federal government have stood up a unified coordination group, a multi-agency response to this hack. Just today, our Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency published mobile communications best practices that everyone should read, especially people in positions of responsibility in the United States government. It's a very sophisticated hack. I can't speak publicly to how it occurred, but the telecom providers are focused intensely on it, and they are working in partnership with us to remediate it.
But how long has this been going on? Months?
It is not an overnight hack. This is a very sophisticated one.
And it's still going on.
And it is still going on. And China is very active in this space.
So there you go. The Chinese are paying attention to your phone calls. Be afraid. Be very afraid. 59 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock.